Hey everybody, welcome. It's Wednesday evening here on the line, and that means it's time for the hang up with me, Matt Dillahunty. And in case you're wondering, what am I hung up on? Well, I didn't get to go have surgery. So yeah, we're doing a show. It's going to be a different show tonight. First of all, I'll give you the short version. I stayed up all night Monday so that I could get up so that I could leave for the airport between 4 and 4:30, so I could get there for a bright and early flight to fly down and then have surgery and then spend the night at my brother's and then fly back. And it's just an oral surgery. It's a minor thing. I could have probably been able to do this and get the show done. I got to the airport. Immediately, they told me that my flight had been delayed because the crew had not had time to rest and meet their requirements, which basically means some mistake and incompetence on the airline's part in their scheduling, because it doesn't make any sense for you to have a 6 o'clock in the morning flight and not have a crew that's rested to do it. I mean, just, whatever. Then while I was sitting there waiting, I went up to check on my connecting flight. And they're like, well, as it stands right now, you'll probably miss your connecting flight, which means you won't get to St. Louis in time for the surgery. But that flight might be delayed as well. But we'll also book you on one other flight that gets you there 30 minutes after your surgery. And I'm like, well, what good does that do me? If it's 30 minutes after I'm supposed to have surgery, that doesn't really help. And so I was going to go anyway and see if I could contact them and move the surgery schedule, an hour or something. And then while I was sitting there, I got a notification that my connecting flight from Atlanta to St. Louis had just been canceled. That's it. We've just canceled your connecting flight. Now, this was Delta. And when I called Arden to come pick me up and bring me back home because I can't make the trip. It doesn't make any sense to travel and go up there just to sit around on my ass and turn around and fly back. I've missed the surgery that I've been waiting on for ages. So I called and got a refund on my flight. I let the oral surgeon know that I wasn't going to be able to make it, and we have rescheduled for August 21st, so a 1-month extension. It's wild because when I got back home early in the morning, I noticed that Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, had announced that he's investigating Delta because on that morning, Delta canceled 400 flights. How do you do that? Were all the crews tired? 400 crews worth of flights, or 400 flight crews were tired. What could possibly go wrong? This wasn't just the software thing that had slowed everything down before. So this is why Pete Buttigieg, who I adore, is investigating Delta for canceling like 400 flights. It was awful, but it's okay. I've rescheduled. I'm going to get it done. That shouldn't be the thing to get hung up on. One of the reasons this show is going to be different is we're going to take calls like normal. Well, we had a call, but evidently that caller decided to disconnect. So, Yelmer, if you're there, call back. You didn't even wait 4 minutes into the show. By the way, the lines are open. So if you're a theist or an atheist and you've got questions and you want to call in, you can call in. Now, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to bring our guest in here in just a minute. Eric from Skeptics and Scoundrels will join me. Tonight, in 55 minutes, President Biden is going to be making his press conference address to the nation, explaining his reasoning for dropping out of the race, the fact that he is dropping out of the race, his endorsement of Kamala Harris. And we are going to live stream that here as part of the show and offer commentary and thoughts during and after. So here in about an hour, we'll have to pause whatever call we're in to get it. I'm sorry, there's something going on in chat about not being able to call her Kamala. That's her name, just like Joe is the president's name. Now you can call her Madam Vice President. You can call her Vice President Harris. You can call her, any number of things. But unless you guys are talking about the difference between Kamala Harris and Kamala Khan, two names spelled the same way but pronounced different, I get the confusion. And I'll admit, just based on being a generic white dude with largely boring names and stuff around there. Kamala feels more correct intuitively than Kamala. And yet, that's not the right thing. The vice president's name is Kamala Harris. Work on it, because she may very well be, and I hope will be, the next president of the United States. In the meantime, while we're waiting for calls to queue up, let's get Eric in here. Eric agreed to even do this show, even if I was going to be like in bed recovering from pain, just to take over and do stuff. And so, well, for the next, I guess, until Joe starts talking, you're in charge. You can take calls when you take calls. You want to? You're probably not even logged into call in studio, are you?
I absolutely am logged in, and I can see we have one fellow waiting and another one in the queue. So yeah, I mean, if you want me to, I can totally drive.
So yeah, here's what I do. From now until I have to say, hang on, everybody, we've got to pause because President Biden's getting ready to speak. Until then, Eric is in charge of my show. What do you want to do, Eric? You want to talk for a while?
I'm going to drive the show into the ground. No, first of all, I want to say I stand in solidarity with you. I too had a nightmare experience with Delta a couple of weeks ago, which involved 15 hours boarding 3 different planes, all of which went nowhere, and sleeping on the JFK airport floor for the night. So I totally feel you. And that was before the whole CloudStrike thing went down about a week ago. Yeah, I feel you. I can't imagine sitting there expecting a surgery and being in pain and then having to deal with all that just going down, and like, well, you're so close to the finish line to get your goal accomplished, and all of a sudden it's just ripped away from you and you got to wait. So yeah, I feel for you. Yeah. So, all right. Matt put me in charge. It's time to hopefully take some calls, hopefully have some good conversations. I want to see what we got in the queue here. We have one, let's see here. We got 2 calls in the queue right now, one in the screening room. We'll just roll right into it. So the only one with the note here so far, it's the newest call, so we're going to take it because it has the note attached to it. We have Jelmer. Jelmer wants to make the statement, well, there's no question mark here, but I'll say it's a question. Is existence, in quotes, necessarily bound to time? Jelmer, how are you doing today? Or Jelmer? Jelmer, you there?
Hello, Jelmer. Your phone might have gone to sleep, and you might still be hearing us, but you might need to wake up and actually touch, since you're using the web utility.
Maybe.
So you might need to touch that browser window.
Jelmer might be stuck in some type of time paradox, though. I mean,
you can put him back in the queue.
This might be, okay. This might be a call for help. He might be stuck somewhere, and he's asking our advice.
There you are.
Jelmer, how you doing?
Yes, welcome.
Yes, I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Doing all right.
Pretty good. I was making light of the technical difficulties, but now that you're here, we can talk about your subject. So, can you restate your question for us, just so we have a full grasp of what you're wanting to talk about?
Yes. My point is that I have heard Matt regularly say that existence is somehow necessarily bound to time. He regularly asks, what does it mean when you say something exists for 0 or absolutely no time? Isn't that the same as non-existence? But I think there's a problem there, because if he says that existence is necessarily bound to time, this implies a scientific claim about the beginning of the universe. And I can easily show how. Hello?
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 Can you not hear us?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
We were waiting because you're
we hear you
saying
this whole time.
It makes some kind of claim about the beginning of the universe, and you can demonstrate it. So what claim is being made about the beginning of the universe?
So let's take, so science takes time as Planck time. So let's take the very first Planck moment. Planck moment is a picosecond. And let's take the first Planck moment of the universe and then go back that Planck moment. Was
We
there
can't.
anything in existence before that Planck moment, according
I have
to
no
Max
idea.
Planck?
I have no
You have no
idea.
idea,
As
but-
far as I have no idea.
But when you say that existence is necessarily bound to time, there can only be two options. Either there was nothing in existence because there was no time, or there was something in existence, but then there was also time as we understand it. One moment followed by another moment, followed by another moment.
Yeah. So the difference is that time, when we're describing time, we're doing it within our reference, our space-time reference. Prior to the Planck time, everything we understand about that breaks down. So I don't know how to address anything prior to the first instant of Planck time. But within the framework of space-time, existence is inextricably tied to time. It is space-time, and something that exists for zero time is indistinguishable from something that doesn't exist. If you're talking, we can't hear you. I think you're using the web browser, perhaps on a phone, and your phone keeps going into a sleep mode when you put it up to your ear, and you'll have to tap the browser thing again to wake up. Yes, I hear you now.
Right. So my question is, doesn't that imply that just before the first Planck moment of the universe, there was either nothing in existence or there was time, if there was something existing?
I don't know if there was meta time or not. I don't know what it means for
What do you
something
mean?
to
What do you mean by meta time?
a time that isn't part of our local space-time. For example, if our space-time is encapsulated within some broader meta space-time, then there is a time frame under which that things might exist. But I don't know. I don't have any way to explore it. I have no way to assess it.
But that meta
Sorry,
time,
what?
is that the same? That meta time, is that the same kind of time that we understand as one moment followed by another moment followed by another moment?
It may be. We don't know. We don't have any way to explore anything prior to the Planck time.
Okay, so but if it's a different kind of time, then isn't there? Can a believer just say when God is outside of time?
What?
Then
Wait. Why did you raise God and outside of time?
Well,
that doesn't make any sense.
When someone claims that God is outside of time, you object that existence is necessarily bound to time.
Yes.
But now you're speaking about meta time. So what stops the believer from saying...
No. Stop talking and listen. I don't know. I don't know, and neither does anybody else, anything about what may or may not occur or exist outside of our space-time reference. So it may be that our space-time reference is part of some bigger reference, a multiverse reference with its own version of time that I can't describe, can't explore, can't tell you about, but there's no reason to think that that's not a function of that meta universe. We don't know, but there's no reason there's no reason to think that our ignorance about what happens prior to or outside of our space-time reference in any way means that there's a God. And the God definitions make it outside of all time, including the potential possible meta time.
Well, but the believer can easily say that God is outside our understanding of time. It might be in meta time or in God time.
Then it's not outside of time, and it's a useless concept. If there's a God that you're pointing to that is part of a meta universe, then it doesn't fit the definition of being outside all space-time.
I'm not speaking about a metaverse. I'm speaking outside of time.
Outside of what time?
Understand it. Outside of the time as we understand it.
What about it? What? How can you explore what is outside of our space-time?
I cannot.
Then how can you conclude that there's any possibility of a God outside of our space-time?
I didn't conclude.
You're a theist, aren't you?
I am.
Okay. And you're calling in to suggest that existence isn't not tied to time when our space-time, our existence is defined in terms of space-time, and it's nonsensical to say that something exists for no time.
I'm not claiming anything.
What are you saying? You're not saying anything. What?
I'm not claiming anything about God.
Then go away. I am only interested if you're going to make claims about God. If you're just going to come in and toss things around, you aren't in any way demonstrating that existence isn't tied to space-time by appealing to a God outside of time or a metaverse outside of our local time.
I didn't say
Gilmer, I'm trying to understand what the main thrust of your call is, because we're talking about pure speculation at this point. The closest we were at reality is when you were talking about a picosecond after the Big Bang, which could potentially be argued to be a point in time and have things in it that exist. But now you're talking about what happens, quote unquote, before that, and what might reside inside of that that speculation. So you're speculating about something that exists inside of another speculation. Where does this get any of us? What is the main thrust of your call here?
I'm not speculating about anything. I'm talking about Matt's claim that existence is necessarily bound to time. Matt is speculating about meta-time, a time we don't understand.
No. I'm making a distinction between the space-time that we experience and what we don't know. I'm not saying I have a solution because, as I've said from the fucking beginning, prior to the Planck time, we can't explore anything and don't know anything. Why are you wasting time on this?
I'm just referring to your definition of existence.
No, you're fucking not. Stop saying you're just referring to my definition. I said existence is necessarily contingent on time. Existence is necessarily tied to time because something that exists for zero time is identical to, or not logically distinguishable from, something which does not exist. I'm not saying anything about a God. If somebody says that God exists outside of space-time, the question should be, does it exist outside of our local space-time, or does it exist outside of all time? If they say it exists outside of all time, that is the nonsense that I'm rejecting when I say existence is necessarily temporal, period.
Can something exist in meta-time?
I don't know, because I don't have any fucking access to meta-time. But if meta-time exists, then yes, something can exist in meta-time as far as we know. What fucking difference does it make? What difference does it make? Do you believe in a God?
Yes.
Does your God exist outside of space-time?
I don't know.
Go away.
It's so funny. You make a claim about existence necessarily bound to our space-time.
No, sir. I did not make a claim existence was bound to our space-time. I'm saying that in order for something to exist, it must exist for some period of time, either our presentation of local space-time or some other time. I don't know because I can't explore it. But stop fucking talking.
So God can exist.
Stop talking. You've called in to repeatedly misrepresent my argument and my position, which you don't fucking understand. And you've gotten it wrong every time. And you are here to defend nothing. That's not what this fucking show is. Demonstrate that existence can be absent time. Go.
I didn't claim any existence of God. I'm just asking you, can God exist?
I just said that you didn't. Shut the fuck up. I just said that you weren't making a claim about God. Prove that something can exist without time. Go.
Well, I didn't claim that something can exist without
Jesus
time.
Fucking Christ, Yelmer. I just hit the mute button.
Yeah.
I'm going to try this one last time. Do you believe something can exist outside of time?
I don't know.
Then why are you calling in to challenge my claim that something must exist within some time frame?
Well, demonstrate to me that something must exist with some time frame, and then take the first Planck moment and go back to the Planck moment.
I did demonstrate this. I've demonstrated it every fucking time, which is in order for something to exist, it must exist for some period of time, because something that exists is said to exist for 0 period of time is logically identical to something that does not exist, correct?
So now you're making a scientific claim about the beginning of the universe.
Correct?
No.
I'm asking you a fucking question. If something...
I don't know if it's correct. I don't know if it's correct. I'm asking you.
Yelmer.
Yes.
Are you going to answer the question honestly, or am I going to drop you for being dishonest as fuck? Here we go. Try this. Listen. Shut up and listen. If there is a thing, shut up and listen. If there is a thing that someone claims exists for no time, is that logically identical to that thing not existing?
I'm not claiming something exists for no time.
You motherfucker. I just asked you a question. You don't have to tell me what you did or didn't claim. I asked you a fucking question. You're going to answer it yes or no, or I'm moving on.
No, I didn't make that claim. And you're misrepresenting my position.
Goodbye. Did I say you made a claim, Yelmer? Did I say you made a claim?
Yes, you're saying that I'm...
No, you didn't, you fucking liar. Listen to me, Yelmer. I'm asking you a question. I'm not saying you made a claim. I'm asking you a question. Here's the question. If something is claimed to exist for no time, is that logically identical to something not existing for any time?
No.
The answer is yes. It's fucking logically identical. There's the demonstration. I'm sorry that you don't understand logic. Goodbye.
If it is identical...
I said goodbye. I said goodbye. I said goodbye. I don't care. You're not going to make any claims. You're not going to defend anything. And you've demonstrated that you don't understand the basics of logic to even get to the contradictory position.
Yeah, Yelmer, listen back to that last bit of the call, and the question I asked you about the something, just replace that something with anything. If it can be said that a pencil existed for no time, is that indistinguishable from that pencil not existing? Try to think of it that way. Instead of trying to imagine or anticipate how this is going to go to the God question, just use any object. Divorce this from the objective of showing a God exists, and just think about it just rationally.
From now on, if I ask you a fucking question, answer that question. Don't tell me what you didn't claim. Don't try to think that you understand this better than me and you know where I'm going, because you've been wrong every single time, Yelmer. Every single time you thought you understood my position or thought you knew where I was going, you were fucking wrong. And you were wrong about the basics of logic.
You see this happen quite a lot, where when questions aren't answered directly, it's because the person answering the question at some level anticipates or understands how this answer is going to come back to bite them. So instead of answering the question, they instead accuse, in this case here, accusing Matt of saying that Yelmer made a claim. When Matt didn't say Yelmer made a claim, Matt said, if X, then is Y the case. And that's not saying Yelmer says that X is the case, and therefore Y must be the case, but just in a hypothetical scenario, if X is true, then is Y true? And if you are presented with a question like that, just generally, if anybody, if you're presented with a question like that and you don't want to answer it, you need to ask yourself, why don't I want to answer this? Perhaps you don't understand the question or you need clarification. That's totally fine. Just ask for it. But if you think that, oh, if I answer this question truthfully, now this is going to be used against me later on, that's not a problem with the question. That's a problem with your position. So think about that. Go back and analyze it. We don't know about these speculations. Even scientists at some point in our history, back to the Planck time, they'd say we don't know what's going on there because our science breaks down. Anything beyond that is speculation. Anyway, okay, let's move on. That was a interesting wake up.
It's incredibly frustrating because all I ever said, this is Yelmer out there who believes in a God but won't make a claim and won't fucking defend it. He's a little fucking coward. and he doesn't understand this stuff. And so he hears me say, when somebody's like, well, how can God exist outside of time? If it exists outside of time, that's identical to it non-existing. What does that even mean? And it's what the point that we've addressed, 5,000 times, is that it doesn't make sense to claim that a God can exist outside of any reference time. Whether or not that reference time is the same as our local space-time, or the reference time of a God, or the reference time of a meta, or whatever, we don't know, because we don't have any way of investigating it. But it is absolutely logically absurd to say that X exists for 0 time. That is identical to X does not exist for any time. And then you can be like, well, you're talking about our local space-time. No, whatever temporal frame of reference X is supposed to be linked to, it must have some time component. Otherwise, X is linked to non-existence. Existence is temporal. Persistence, moment to moment, is existence. It is impossible to talk about existence and not have a temporal aspect to it. And so the best you can do is say, well, we don't know what happened prior to the Planck time. Maybe prior to the Planck time, time breaks down. And in that last picosecond, whatever, for Planck time, maybe in that period of time, if you were to look at it, time always existed, but runs at a rate that is different from our local space-time presentation. I don't know. I don't have any way to investigate it. Not a physicist. I'm not the one that's making claims other than existence. When you say X exists, it is absurd to say X existed for 0 time. That's it.
All right. We've got, actually, this might work out really well. We have 2 callers left in the queue, and we have about 33 minutes until the presidential address. And in fact, one of our callers wants to talk about that. So we'll, Mary, we will hold off and put you second because your call might just seamlessly flow into listening to the president's speech. So we have Kayla, pronouns any and all, from Wisconsin. Kayla's an atheist and wants to ask the question: Do the hosts know of any good secular end-of-life services? Kayla, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. A little nervous because this is my first time ever calling in to this platform, but I've been trying to look into like different end of life services for when you pass away or whatever, and I just wanted to know, like, what would your advice be for dealing with that as like a secular person or at all?
I can probably give my answer here really quick because I've not dealt exactly with end-of-life services, but other medical services where religion was a part of the equation, or non-religion was part of the equation, as well as like things like me getting married to my wife and such. End-of-life services, any reputable ones, is a medical service, and as such, ethically, they should keep religion completely out of it already. So if you are dealing with an end-of-life service and they are pushing some type of religion on you or religious values on you, that's already a breach of ethics, and you should probably run away from them and find somebody else, and probably also report them while you're at it. But if that's something you want to ask them, like, hey, are there any religious aspects to your service or anything like that? You can directly tell them, and if it is your desire, I want no religious aspects as part of this service. I want it completely secular. This is very similar to when my wife and I got married. Because of some shenanigans, we were forced to change our wedding venue like the day of, and we had a completely new officiator at the wedding and everything like that. And the first thing they asked us was basically like, how do you want your wedding to go? And I said, I would like to have a secular ceremony. And he was like, okay. And he gave me a perfectly great secular ceremony. I was very happy with it. So ask questions of the service. If they're pushing their values on you, run away from them. And basically, I don't know what your time frame is, but shop around and figure out what's a good service that'll fulfill your need.
I'm 32 years old, so sorry.
Yeah, I just say,
are you? Sorry, go ahead.
The American Humanist Association and Center for Inquiry and others have secular celebrant secular celebrant services where you can not only train to become a celebrant, but you can reach out and potentially contact some. And they're there to perform weddings and funerals and that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I've just been thinking about that for the last like 5 years because I'm reaching 30 now, and I don't know. I thought about it, I guess.
I went in and had triple bypass surgery, and I don't have any funeral plans at all. I'm waiting for somebody to point out that I'm an idiot for not having prepared.
I think it's positive thinking, Matt. It's fine.
It's all right. I think it's pretty dumb of me, but yeah.
Yeah. So Kala or Kayla, is there any like concerns or things weighing on your mind, or is it just general future planning, future proofing? Is it anything like that?
Just general future proofing. I just want to make sure I'm prepared for when that day comes. So yeah.
All right. Well, it sounds like you're asking some good questions now. I would probably say don't obsess over it too much and give yourself plenty of time to mull it over. It sounds like you have lots of time to think about it. And while I can't give you any particular services, because I've never really considered the problem or the question myself, I'm 42, so I'm a little ahead of you. But take your time, shop around, ask questions like you've asked us. That's great. We don't probably have a very good answer for you when it comes to like particular services, but do some research, ask around, and see what you can find. There's probably also something that's came to mind. There's probably also social workers that you can find. There's many free social services that give you advice on certain aspects of, quote unquote, like senior and end of life services. For instance, my mom, when we had to find her basically what was called an adult family home, is basically like a private nursing home. There was free social services up here in Washington that guided me through the process, helped me find a home for her, helped me set up the payments and get all the doctor stuff set up and everything. You could probably call just a local hospital and say, hey, can you link me with a social worker that can answer these questions of mine? And they'll be able to do a lot better job than us. So I would recommend you do that.
Okay, thanks for the advice.
Okay, Kayla. You have a good evening.
All right. You too. Bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks.
All right. So got one call. Well, we have another caller. Oh, actually, that's terminated calls. I'm sorry. I mistaken the queues together. Okay, we have one caller left, and we might have to stretch this out a little bit before the speech starts. So welcome to the show. We have Mary. Pronouns are she and her from Florida. Mary is an atheist. And this is a political call considering Kamala Harris. Mary, how you doing?
Hi, Matt and Eric. Matt, I'm glad
Mary.
to see you. I know you had oral surgery today, and you
No, I
seem
didn't.
fine, which is
I know you didn't watch
okay.
the beginning of the show.
No, I missed it. I caught.
I know, it's fine.
Late.
I'm not. I don't mean to give you a hard time, but the entire beginning of the show was about how I stayed up all night, got to the airport, the flight got delayed, then another one got canceled, then I went home and had to postpone the surgery, and now it's going to happen next month.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Anyway, weeks of planning was canceled by an airline.
Yeah.
Actually,
right.
The punctuation. Yeah, good.
But I just want to say, with Biden deciding to step down and promoting Kamala Harris to run for president, I feel like a weight has been lifted because I feel like she can beat Trump. And I felt like Biden could not. And so, but the misogynistic and racist stuff on Facebook about her, about sleeping her way to the top and all this crap just infuriates me. And making fun of her laugh. She cackles, and it's like they don't have anything to go after her for, so they're just going full racist misogyny, picking on nothing. And I've had to argue with people on Facebook about it. But
I have something important to tell you.
I feel positive.
I have something very important to tell you that I figured out. You don't have to argue with people on Facebook.
I know, but you know.
I know. I don't stop either. I learned that I don't have to argue with them, but it hasn't stopped me from arguing with them. So here's the thing. I'm in agreement. So we're getting ready to hear from President Biden here in like 25 minutes or so. And by the way, there'll probably be time for another call in between there. So if somebody wants to get in their question there.
Somebody call in.
Yeah, I'm not going to be long.
Yeah. No, but I'm with you, Mary, because my view on this is Jimmy and I did a couple shows, and I was like, I think it's probably in the nation's best interest and in the left or the party's best interest for Biden to step out of the race. And we talked about, who could potentially come in. Our preferred thing was to have a completely open convention. I mean, Jimmy and I think we're in agreement on that, saying have Biden say, I release all my delegates. Let's have some people, come in and we'll discuss who's going to be there. That would have been nice. And I think it could have been very inspiring. The problem is that there are legal issues, considering what the primaries did, with somebody other than Kamala being nominated. With Kamala being nominated, since her name was on the ticket, the $100 million in donations that already existed in the war chest, that was Biden money, not from Biden, but donated to Biden-Harris, that can be transferred to her. They're going to fight it, but she already made $100 million in the first 24 hours after the announcement anyway. Mm-hmm. And that's the only thing that I find especially encouraging. Don't get me wrong. I've listened to her speak. She's a good speaker. She's got a good speechwriter, but I think the speechwriter missed a couple of opportunities to expand on some stuff. And also she gave the same speech basically 2 days in a row in 2 different locations. I get it. You've got your stump stuff, but we've got to kind of mix it up a little bit. But I found her to be encouraging, inspiring, and I'm in. She's got enough delegates that any convention is going to be a formality. She's raising money. She has this prosecutor versus felon advantage that is non-trivial. Now, my preferred VP pick for her, just if I had a dream and I knew they were going to get elected, it would be Pete Buttigieg. But I think realistically, maybe it's the best thing to do. Maybe you put Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg on there and you just lean into we're the woke left with a mixed race woman as president and a gay man as vice president. Maybe you lean into that and you just get everybody who's like, wow, they're not left enough or whatever else. I would love that, but I'm genuinely afraid that if she picks Pete Buttigieg, it might be a hard sell to have that much diversity, because right now people are tossing around DEI left and right. And some people pointed out on Facebook that basically DEI is code for the N-word at this point, or equivalent to that. And I think that I would agree. I don't think the people saying DEI hire are necessarily literally thinking N-word in their head and that. But it's functionally the same, because what we're doing is we're disparaging someone who is incredibly qualified and amazing. I got my problems with Kamala. I got my problems with stuff that she did while she was the attorney general in California. She was very, very anti-sex worker, and that hurt some friends of mine. But generally speaking, you can't say Kamala's not qualified. You can't say she doesn't know what's going on. All you can say is, damn, where's she been for the last 3 years? Because that's the reality. Vice presidents tend to become invisible. And when all of this happens and we're moving forward, that's what people need to understand, is that she's no longer the invisible vice president. She's no longer the backup plan. She is in the driver's seat. She is the new head of the party. She is our nominee, and she will be a better president by orders of magnitude than Trump could ever hope to be.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. I'm hoping she picks, can't remember his last name, hon, from Arizona,
Kelly?
Mark.
Kelly?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
don't-
he would be a good
Okay.
choice, but
Yeah, I don't know enough about him. I don't know enough about any of them. And so probably what I'm going to do is, instead of researching all the potential VP candidates, we're going to have a VP nominee relatively quickly. The party's going to get together and they're going to move at a good clip. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be a little bit surprised if it's announced tonight, but just because I think that it depends. We're going to have to see. We're going to see Biden talk here in about 20 minutes, and we'll see what happens. Kamala could come and announce her vice president immediately afterwards. If I was Joe, I would say, hey, I'm stepping out of the race. I'm supporting Kamala. Let's get her up here and have her tell you her vision for America and who she wants as her vice president. Kamala, come here, kid. Tell him. And then she gets up and does a couple of highlights that aren't in her stump speech that add something to this. And here's my vice presidential pick. I think that'd be great, but also I think it might wait till tomorrow. And there's a possibility that it could wait until the actual party convention. But the longer they wait, I don't know. I'm not a political strategist. I was about to say the longer they wait, I think the more they lose the momentum they've got. It may be the case that if you space this out, like, boom, we raised $100 million because you know what? Obama hasn't come out and endorsed her, but we know it's going to happen. And so somebody was like, why hasn't Obama endorsed her? I was like, because it would be fucking stupid for Obama to come out and endorse her right now. She got the Clinton's endorsement. She got the Congressional Black Caucus endorsement. She got Joe Biden's endorsement. And you go and you let stuff, when it looks like maybe enthusiasm starting to wane, that's exactly when you book a joint event with her and President Obama. And he comes out and says, Michelle and I, we love Kamala, and boom. And you get Michelle Obama there, and the two of them are praising her, and you get another $100 million in donations, for that bump. You have a few months, and you need to be strategic timing to schedule the bumps so that we're tired. I know you're with me, Mary. We're all tired. This has been an exhausting 8 fucking years, and we got to keep people enthused and ready to vote. And that's going to require some really good strategic thought, which, let's be honest, the Democrats have fucking sucked at for more than 8 years.
yeah. But the meltdown that the Republicans are having and like Fox News, it's like, they're just, and even Trump, they're like, what the hell, now all those, let's go Brandon stuff is obsolete.
Yeah.
But one thing that's definitely going to happen, Mary, is that it's because right now the news that Biden was dropping was anticipated, but the timing of the announcement and everything kind of caught everybody by surprise. And so we see a lot of thrashing. We see a lot of struggling to coalesce around new attack vectors and new messages from the Republican Party to attack the Democratic Party. So you're going to see a lot of the stuff on Facebook, on Reddit, on Twitter, or X, whatever they call it, now. And it's going to get worse, and then it's going to coalesce around some core messages. And those messages, I'm not looking forward to seeing what they are, because they're going to be very, as we mentioned earlier, how DEI is code word now in many circles for other things that are less flattering. We're going to see a lot of this stuff kind of intensify and get worse. But my 2 cents on that, I'm not much of a political commentator. My 2 cents on this whole thing is overall, I'm excited to see where this goes next, because this change is going to infuse the next few months with a lot of energy that we weren't anticipating. Because as much as I liked Joe Biden, he was up there in age and he lacked a connection and that youthful energy that I, as a millennial, and those younger than I am, want to see. So now that we have Harris in there, a lot closer to our demographic, a lot more in touch with the world and the way the world is and how we younger ones have to deal with it and the problems that we have in the economy and jobs and all these things. So I'm very excited to see this change, because I'm going to see somebody who is much more close to where I'm at than Joe Biden, for all his positives, could ever be because of his age. So I'm excited at the upcoming few months. I'm excited at the new energy that's going to pump into it. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be ugly. And I, as much as I hate to say it, it's history in the making here. Like we're witnessing a fairly historic event. I think this hasn't happened in a primary in like a long time, or if ever. As much as I'm sick of living through once in a lifetime events, this is another one, and it's going to be fairly interesting. So that's I'm watching in anticipation to see what happens.
But just that she's standing up for women's bodily autonomy and LGBTQ rights, and stop this fucking book banning crap and teaching the Bible in school, and it's like,
good luck.
I'm hoping she can put an end to all that crap, and that Trump will just go away. But thank you for letting me speak my mind.
Yep. Thanks, Mary.
I am too. Like I said, I feel like there's been a weight lifted, and I feel happier than I have felt in a couple years.
Well, hearing that from you and others is very encouraging. It makes the rest of us, or at least me, feel even better. Because, man, things are bad. And no, we're not making Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson fucking VP. Just like
we want to get further away. We want to get further away from idiocracy, not closer to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
let the Republicans have the wrestlers come out and rip their shirts off. We don't need that at our show.
Yeah, I was just going to say the RNC was fucking loony. So I want
you had Hulk Hogan, who's fired for being a racist along with his other crap. Or he may not have been fired for being a racist. He may have been fired and a racist. But yeah, it absolutely looked like Terry Crews straight out of Idiocracy. So,
yep.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you for letting me be uplifted by VP Harris. I don't know, does she have a speechwriter, or can't she write her own stuff?
Nobody writes their own speeches.
You don't think?
Oh, I guarantee you.
Speech writing takes a long time. When you are the very busy people.
Yeah. There's a team of people. Go watch The West Wing.
I need to watch that. I've been watching. Okay,
it's my favorite show. I've watched the entire show, every season, not exaggerating, 10 times. I know West Wing stuff backwards and forwards. And while it's a fantasy land I would love to live in, but it's an accurate representation of how things work, right down to speechwriters.
Right. Okay. Another show, I'm going to plug this show on Netflix, Lucifer. Have you watched it? I
watched a couple of episodes and quit, but
I'm hooked. It's so good. You have to wait it out. Got to wait it out.
I've gotten to the point where I'm no longer willing to wait multiple seasons for shows to get good. There are many shows that I love that sucked the first season, but I stuck with it anyway, and then they got really good. I don't have the patience for that anymore. If it doesn't have me hooked inside of like 2 or 3 episodes, I got other shit to watch.
Well,
I visited my brother in California. I visited my brother in California about a week ago, and he showed me episode 1 of The Righteous Gemstones. And that is the show I'm going to be watching.
Yep.
I watched that.
It's good.
But Lucifer is good too. Thank you. Have a good night, Matt and Eric.
You too.
Yep. You too, Mary. Good night.
Bye.
Do we
Alrighty. So
do we want to close the lines? Are we planning on taking calls once the speech starts? I guess that's the question.
Well, I don't know how long the speech is going to run. So I'd say don't close the lines. And if we get actual theists calling in, we'll take theists after the speech. If he ends short, then we'll take more calls. If he runs long, then we'll let people go. So for now, I leave it open, let people queue up, and then we'll make a decision because he might talk for 5 minutes and be done.
Yeah. I just wanted to know so I could let our screener know what to do. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. So you heard that, folks. We will be still accepting calls throughout the speech. We don't know how long the speech will be, but if you are a theist, we more than welcome your call. Call us in, and you'll wait in queue, but we'll get to you after the speech. The number is 720-619-2288, or use the web link in the description. We have about 9 minutes left until the speech starts, but we have a caller. So hopefully this won't take too long. It looks fairly benign. So we have Evren, they, them, in Wisconsin. Evren's an atheist. Comment here's a long one. Conservatives are voting for a felon and liberals are voting for a prosecutor. Am I the only one that sees the irony in both sides as I deal with the moral implications of voting for a cop/prosecutor as I am opposed to the police system? So Evren, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. I just want to make sure I'm not peeking.
No, you're good.
I think you're okay.
Okay. Yeah. I feel bad because I have witnessed, I personally have not, but I've witnessed just how corrupt the police system is, having grown up in St. Louis, Missouri, and definitely seeing all of the and having seen all the videos from around the world as of lately, of cops just being, and of course before there was even video, when cops would get away with everything. And so I just, absolutely feel so bad. But like, you have to work within the system and within the means that you have. But I just feel really guilty for voting for a cop/a prosecutor. But I definitely will take that over the other one.
Okay. I have no problem voting. I have concerns about what she did when she was Attorney General. She didn't do everything the way I would like it, but I have no problems at all voting for a lawyer or a prosecutor or law enforcement, because I think all cops are bastards. People are dumb as fuck.
Oh man, that hurts.
I know it hurts all of them. And the thing is, we know, so people are going to get mad. We know already that when we say something like all cops are bastards, it's an exaggeration. It's hyperbole. They're not. Anybody who literally thinks all cops are bastards, both in the literal or metaphorical sense, is really dumb, because they're people just like the rest of us. I have friends they went to school with who are cops. I have people in my extended family who are in law enforcement. I have friends who are prosecutors. The fact that there is corruption in the system doesn't make everyone in the system corrupt. And when I'm getting ready to release a video on exaggerating and hyperbole, because I got into a fight on Twitter because I posted a video saying, hey, don't fall into the trap of falling for conspiracy theorist stuff, and don't be celebrating violence. And somebody came in and said, I'm tired of white guys telling me I have to feel sorry for Hitler 2.0 when he wants my friends in concentration camps. Well, that's absolute hyperbole. Nobody was saying that you had to feel sorry for him. I don't feel sorry for him. And he never said that he wants your friends in concentration camps. That's an inference that both goes to what his motivation is and what he's claiming to do. There are good cops. There are cops working the beat who pull you over. Hey, your tag's expired or whatever, let you off with a warning, whatever else. It is ridiculous to try to make it seem that the entire law enforcement system is peopled with nothing but morally corrupt individuals who want to abuse power. Are there some? Yeah. It's like, are there preachers that are frauds? You bet. Does that mean they all are? No. There are some preachers that use their religion to scam people, but that doesn't mean that every preacher is a scammer. And I get really frustrated at the hyperbole. The prison, the industrial prison complex is something that is problematic and should be opposed. But this kind of simplistic, all cops are bastards, what does that get us when it's not true?
And everyone, probably another thing to keep in mind too is that our news, the news we receive, is just nauseating shit. And as terrible as that is, and as terrible as those individual police officers are, we have kind of a selection bias going here, where these stories are the ones that bubble up and get our attention because of the various factors that I mentioned. If we lived in a world where every single police interaction was recorded and everyone was reported on and generalized as this one was a good interaction, this was a bad interaction, this one was just kind of neutral, I think we would definitely have a much better idea of the how widespread these issues are, how many bad cops are actually out there. But the news can skew us into thinking that they're all bad, or that we should not support this institution at all. When really that's not the attitude we should be taking. We should realize that, hey, we are working off of very selected information, and that we can get a skewed perspective of what's actually going on out there. And like I said, I mean, I don't like seeing some of the stuff that I see, but I have to do my best to make sure that I don't pull out that broad paintbrush and start painting every single police officer that I see with that brush, because as Matt said, what's that going to get us? It's going to get us pretty much nowhere, because it's not fair to the actual good individuals, the good police officers and good law enforcement officials who are trying to do their job effectively, work within the law, and make the world a better place. It's not going to help them. It's not going to help us. It's not going to help society as a whole.
Okay,
going back,
we're going to need to stop. First of all, I think we got like 2 minutes, but I think a better slogan would be scab, because it rolls off the tongue first. But now I've got one of our prime moderator is telling me that the police are class traders that exist only to promote corporate interests, and all I want to do is unwrench you right now. That is such ridiculous hyperbole. So maybe we'll have to do a show on what people mean by all cops are bastards and what's practical, because I don't understand this notion that the job itself, being a police officer, is nothing but protecting corporate interests. That's a load of shit. I've had cops come over and help me. Doesn't help any corporate interest to do that. I've been pulled over, got tickets, been pulled over, let out of tickets. This broad generalization. Now, to get back to Everen's thing, because we're getting ready to switch over to the president talking.
All of my experiences have always been negative. In a case where I was kidnapped, unfortunately, there was a case where the police officer thought I was a prostitute. There have been other examples, but it's just obviously police officers in different areas are going to have different cultural and like upbringings and things like that. But I just wanted to get that out before I have you guys open on YouTube, and I'm just going to watch the speech as well. But you guys can let me go and continue talking.
Well, I've noticed the problem that you noticed, which are conservatives are voting for a felon and liberals are voting for a prosecutor. And the irony hasn't been lost on me or anybody else. Maybe we'll have to dig into this all cops are bastards thing before, because people seem to have some incredibly strong opinions. I think that would be a good show. But I want a cop on here. But anyway, thanks, Everin.
Thanks, Everin.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Whoops.
All right, I guess I'll pass the reins.
And hit the drop button there.
Oh, that's okay. I'll pass the reins over to you, Arden, because I think
I haven't seen anything in chat. So if anybody tagged me in the last couple of minutes, I'm already on the alternate window. Everyone who actively participates in the corrupt system is a bastard. Go fuck yourself, including us. Yeah. No. I served 8.5 years in the military. My bastard was I then.
So I'm not seeing the conference live on the post that we're streaming to yet. The counter is at 0, obviously, because we're past 7, but it's still playing old speeches. So I
Yeah,
don't know
I
if
would imagine. I would imagine they come in a minute or so. You let me know when it looks when they switch to going live. Oh, and I Got Cookies has a college degree in criminal justice, and that college degree includes the notion that all cops exist only to protect the corporations. Right? That was included in it. Call in, Cookies. You wouldn't be able to moderate chat.
I think we're live.
Oh, here we go.
All right, hold on. Let me get this set up. Oh, wait, no, not that one. Nope.
I can't hear it.
I know. Hold on. I'm trying to get everything set up here.
We're going to be on a slight delay.
Also, it's like back 30 seconds or so.
He's sitting down. I bet this is going to be 10 minutes.
All right, here we go.
Union.
So it's going to play a little of the old speech, and then it'll get into it.
Union labor president. My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred space, I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington, who showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think it's more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. We can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this, we are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life.
This is going to be
There's
short.
also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices.
Yeah.
Yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism. Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence, our planet from climate crisis that is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. And I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong, to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war. We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world. You know, we've come so far since my inauguration. On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities. We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century. The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. But we came together as Americans, and we got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure. Today we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are up. Inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America. We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation. We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not just seniors. More people have health care today in America than ever before. And I signed one of the most significant laws helping millions of veterans and their families who are exposed to toxic materials. You know, the most significant climate law ever in the history of the world. The first major gun safety law in 30 years. And today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake. The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea. An idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. We're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now. In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands. My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America. We're a nation of promise and possibilities, of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation, like so many others. I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people. I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. We just have to keep faith, keep the faith, and remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's simply nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's act together, preserve our democracy. God bless you all.
There we go.
May God protect our troops. Thank you.
So, first of all, yeah, there was a call that was queued up but terminated that was about the all cops are bastards thing, saying it doesn't really matter. A few bad cops are a cancer to society. And you're right. A few bad cops are a cancer to society, but a few bad cops doesn't mean that all or most are bad. Also, there's some absolute fucking garbage bullshit going on in chat. Just wild. His face only lit up when he talked. Go fuck yourself, Enja. The guy just did one of the most selfless things ever. Maybe he's a narcissist. Maybe he's not. Jimmy thinks he's got an ego. I've watched this man for my entire life serving his country and listened to him over the years. We can have different views. But if in his speech where he does something unheard of, you're just going to be like, he's a narcissist. Fuck you. Like, even if he was, so what? But you don't have any reason for that right now. So what he talked about was his view of this as this is a sacred task. It's we the people. It is America must choose. We must unite to protect democracy. He's going to pass the torch to a new generation because the job is most important and the future of the party and the nation is bigger than him. He's going to keep standing up against hate and extremism. He's going to work against gun violence, climate crisis. Yes, there were stump speech moments in there for sure. But he wants to keep NATO stronger, which is at risk under Trump. He wants to work with allies in the Pacific. He paid lip service to Gaza. There's things to call out. But if you want to call out something that's policy problematic, cool. But it's absolutely like, I don't know if we're going to get any more calls tonight. We may just end the show short, especially since the conversation. I wish I could play you guys a song, but we can't. We're probably already going to get, demonetized and taken down just for showing the live press conference. There's a song by Concrete Blonde called God is a Bullet. Let me read you the lyrics. That I can probably do. Concrete Blonde's one of my all-time favorite bands. And it's a shame that the lead singer, Jeanette Napolitano, who's one of my favorite voices ever, evidently struggles with alcoholism. Here's the lyrics. There's a green plaid jacket on the back of the chair. It's like a moment frozen forever there. Mom and Dad had a lot of big plans for their little man. So proud. Mama's gone crazy because her baby's shot down by some teenage car chase war out of bounds. It was the wrong place, wrong time, wrong end of a gun. Shoot straight from the hip. Gone forever in a trigger slip. You know, it could have been your brother. Shoot straight, shoot to kill. Blame each other, blame yourselves. God is a bullet. Have mercy on us, everyone. They're going to call me sir. They'll all stop picking on me. I'm a high school grad. I'm over 5'3". I'll get a badge and a gun and I'll join the PD. They'll see. He didn't have to use the gun they put in his hand, but when the guy came at him, well, he panicked and ran, and it's 30 long years before they give him another chance. And it's sad, sad, sad. John Lennon, Dr. King, Harvey Milk, all for goddamn nothing. God is a bullet. Have mercy on us, everyone. That is a song about police brutality. It is a song that talks about what I think of when people talk about all cops are bastards, because it tells the story of some bullied, troubled young man who decides, I'll show them all. I'll get a badge and a gun and I'll join the police department. And then with a slip, not even necessarily being awful, takes out somebody in a gunshot. I have friends who are anti-gun to the extreme, and I have friends who are pro-gun to the extreme. It's very frustrating being in a position where we see people engaged in hyperbole. You want to know one of my favorite stories from the last couple of weeks that prompted a lot of discussion? They put ammunition vending machines. I think there's a couple in Alabama now and one or two here in Texas. And I saw my friends on Facebook who are anti-gun losing their minds. Oh my God, why do we have to make ammunition easier? The vending machines don't make getting ammunition easier. They don't. You're required to have an ID and present an ID. You're going to go up to the machine. You're going to be filmed. You have to present an ID in order to, you don't have to present an ID. I can go to Walmart right now. I don't have to show any fucking ID to buy ammo, as far as I know. It doesn't make it easier to get ammunition. If anything, it makes the ammunition slightly more secure than just behind the counter with a minimum wage teenager shoveling it out to anybody who walks in, including his friends, including maybe people who don't have a license. Now, I'm not saying I'm for ammo vending machines. I'm not. I don't need ammo. I don't need an ammo vending machine. But the ammo vending machine, people are objecting to left and right, as if it's a bigger problem, when they not only don't seem to have any evidence that it is in fact a bigger problem, but the available evidence suggests that it might help curb a problem by requiring identification. If one of those ammo machines makes it just a slightly more difficult for some teenager to get ammunition and go shoot up a school, I'm okay with that. I think slightly more difficult is a real thing. But the problem is that there are some people who just want to, look at everything and label, oh, that's gun culture. You're an ammo-sexual. You're in love with your guns. And some of them are. But not everybody who has a gun is an ammo-sexual. Not everybody who has a gun has a problem with a penis. Not everybody who has a gun is violent-minded. Video games don't cause this violence. I'm watching folks on the left engage in massive hyperbole And yes, I'm still planning to do the video, but here's the short version. If you make a claim that the opposition can look at, hold up, and say, here's what the other side is saying, and to dismiss trans rights because somebody is being hyperbolic. I don't want them to dismiss the actual problem with guns because somebody exaggerated about something else. Our side needs to have arguments that are unassailable, that are true, that are not hyperbole, that don't try to dump everything in one bucket, that aren't the simplistic fucking bumper sticker of religion is mental illness when it's fucking not. This is why I'm rejecting and standing up against hyperbole, because hyperbole, when you know it's hyperbole, is just a lie. If you realize you're exaggerating for the sake of making a point, you can say that. I frequently exaggerate to make a point. And I try to make sure that I'm referencing that. Oh, this is not literally true. But if you continue to use something and the opposition can just say, look at them. They're nuts. It's Trump derangement syndrome. They're nuts. It's the woke left mind virus. Look at them. They can't even say things that are true. If you're in that position, even though you have the best intentions and you seem to want the same things that I want, I think you might be part of the problem because you make it harder for people to have discussions about this because we have to weed through a whole bunch of claims that either aren't true or are problematic in their exaggeration. Here's my example. I got a couple examples. I'm going to use a different one. Normally I would go with the abortion example about trying to say they want to punish women. No. Gay conversion therapy. The notion that you can, therapy the gay away is unscientific. It is harmful. It can and does lead to people wanting to and succeeding in some cases in terminating their own life. It fundamentally misrepresents the issue of sexuality, and it harms and hurts gay people. Far as I can tell, everything I just said there is factually accurate. And everything I said there is what we would need to start with to stand up in opposition to the repulsive, harmful gay conversion therapy that some people are advocating. But if in response to that, we say, hey, you support gay conversion therapy, that means you want to hurt gay people. You just lost. You just completely lost, and you probably did harm. Now, there are some people who are never going to change their mind. I just don't know who they are. But there are some people who might change their mind if things are addressed properly. If somebody is advocating for conversion therapy because what they want is to help free someone from their homosexuality because they think that's something that's possible, they have a number of misconceptions. They are wrong. They are anti-scientific, and you should absolutely correct those misunderstandings. You should point out that, first of all, none of your business if somebody's gay, none of your business if it is a choice. Not a choice. It's not a lifestyle choice. This is who people are. You didn't choose to be straight. You go through all these things. But if you say you just want to hurt gay people, and they don't, if hurting gay people is the furthest thing from their mind, what you've done is you've said, I know your mind better than you do, and you got it wrong. And the second someone pretends to know what's in your mind and they get it wrong, you don't have to take them seriously anymore. You don't have to consider their arguments. And so while somebody does want to harm gay people, not everybody who's advocating for gay conversion therapy has the goal of harming gay people. Some of them think they're helping and they're wrong. Some of them don't care if they're helping. They just want things to change. But when you assert this is your goal, you're pretending to be able to read someone's mind. Don't. Instead, say, if someone looked at this, they might presume you're trying to hurt gay people. I don't know that you're trying to hurt gay people. I hope you're not trying to hurt gay people, but what you're advocating absolutely hurts gay people. What you're doing has as its consequences harm and death. Why isn't that enough for you to stop doing it? If you know this and you don't stop, aren't we supposed to assume that you're trying, that the harm is either your goal or that you're okay with it because some other goal is worse? But if you just do you want to hurt gay people, you want to punish women for sex, you want to make women slaves to their biology, you want to put trans people in concentration camps, you are asserting what their motivation is. And unless you have some way to demonstrate it, which you can on occasion, motivations are always up for consideration. You should be able to consider it. It's fine for you to suspect what somebody's motivations are, but when you claim it publicly and you can't demonstrate it, I think you're working against the cause, because now even the people whose mind you might be able to change and reach, they just get to write you off. Well, they're telling me that I want to hurt people. That's not true. When I was opposed to abortion, I didn't want to hurt women. I wanted to save babies. And anybody who came up and said, oh, you want to hurt women, was a buffoon who clearly didn't know what was in my mind. I was confused, misinformed, and, but at no point was it, ooh, how can I hurt women? And when you assert motivations you can't demonstrate, how's that helping? So maybe I'll clip that out instead of making a whole nother video on it. But we got a couple calls I want to get to before we potentially do supers. And we got a theistic call. So, okay.
I muted them. It's just a troll.
All right. Who's next?
Well, we don't have a theist. We just have somebody who said they were calling from the UK, even though they were actually calling from Germany. Yeah. And just wanted to play audio. Let's try this again. Let's try Manos from Greece.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, okay. That's cool, because I was talking to the other guy, and he told me it wouldn't be possible you wouldn't take any more atheists. So yeah, okay, that's cool. I've heard you quite sometimes when people bring up the topic of the value of religion, and just to make sure, your answer to the idea that religion provides community and meaning in life, you say to that that meaning in life and community can be found in other ways, so we don't need religion to do that. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Right.
In fact, we had a call on Sunday where we were directly asking the caller to name us one practical benefit that religion offers that non-religions can't. And as far as we both know, that question's never been answered.
Yeah. So if there are a lot of ways to achieve something, and maybe, okay, let's say if there can be more ways to achieve something, is it better than if it were the case that there were less ways to achieve it?
It doesn't matter whether there's more or less, because the ends don't justify the mean.
Can you expand on that a little?
Sure. Let's say there's two ways to end slavery. One of them is to pass a law so that it's no longer legal for one person to own another person. And the other way is to kill everybody on the planet. The fact that there's two ways to end slavery doesn't mean that they are equal in their results. The other one is, if you kill everybody who thinks they should be allowed to own slaves, just leave everybody else alive. Now you've ended slavery. But you don't get to argue that because the result is what you wanted, that all paths to that result are equally viable and equally necessary. I mean, I could, that's the best example I got probably.
You might want to think of it this way, Manos. Here's another example. Well, this is from Quora, so you have to fact check it. But there's historically there's been illnesses, real illnesses that humans can suffer from, that can technically be cured by infecting that person with another illness. For example, malaria therapy is used to treat tertiary syphilis via deliberate infection of the malaria parasite, according to this. Check me on that. But basically, what's better? You have two ways to cure an illness. You can cure an illness by not getting the person sick with another illness, or you can cure an illness with getting a person sick with another illness. They both get you the desired result. You're getting rid of that original illness. But the side effects, the downstream effects, things that maybe we aren't able to anticipate now, but we would with like experience or with more knowledge, should help us determine the course to take. So while religion can do very beneficial things for society, such as give hope, meaning, and purpose to individuals, you are curing one thing by infecting them with something else, namely irrationality, a belief in things that can't be demonstrated to be true, and in more extreme cases, perhaps a religion has, us versus them mentality, or tribalistic, nationalistic, type of violent teachings. So sure, they both get the job done, but what's better, having that or not having those side effects? And I prefer solutions that don't have downstream side effects, things that actually solve the issue without causing others.
Right. Okay. So if I can summarize the point, it is that we have a lot of ways to achieve something, but some of those ways, or some ways, have byproducts, and those byproducts affect different parts, different parts of our lives, and so in a way, all right, okay. Is that fair? So this idea that some ways are bad. So just the fact that there are a lot of ways to achieve something doesn't mean that there should be a lot of ways, because we have to evaluate the specifics of those ways.
Yes.
Okay. So in case of religion, we have some quite bad byproducts from it. Wouldn't you say, though, that the first step, so religion, you can have better or worse religious narratives, right? So we can lower the bad byproducts of the specific way. So the question is, how and why would we decide if the way should be just thrown out altogether, or if it's better to fix the bad side effects of it?
Well, I'm fine with either, for taking harmful methods and either fixing them or making them go away. But when it comes to religion, generally speaking, religions are sometimes literally written in stone. How do you fix something like Christianity that tells people they are born in sin and in need of salvation, fundamentally scarring individual psyche about their worth and value and place in the world? How do you, I get that there are Christians who are, don't have a problem with homosexuality, but they are cherry picking out of the Bible and don't have a really strong leg to stand on. But I don't know how you fix the foundational notion of Christianity, which is that there's an afterlife that's more important than this one.
So basically, there's probably religions that at their most atomic state, they still are harmful. The harm itself is intrinsic to the religion.
Yeah, so I guess I would say that more sophisticated theology does take away. So because you said about the Bible, yeah, I do think the Bible, you cannot just read the Bible and say, oh yeah, God is perfectly fine with homosexuals, or that we should care about this life more than the afterlife. But the Orthodox tradition has quite a very different narrative from that. You don't focus that much. They don't take the Bible as the ultimate source of truth. They have traditions. They evolve. They expand on the theological narratives, and they try to create a place of reference for the people that feel they want something more. They feel like they have to connect somehow to the divine or something. So so this thing with literalism and fundamental. Sorry.
Why isn't that considered to be the problem? If people feel that they need some connection to the divine, but there's no evidence that there is a divine, then all we're doing is giving them the illusion of a connection to the divine. What does the illusion or actual connection to the divine do to improve the world or teach us anything that's true? What does religion add? If your religion is opposed to being gay and you change your religion so it's no longer opposed to being gay, what else does your religion actually add that is true and good?
Well, first of all, okay, so if you take out the problems with homosexuality, sorry, I'm a little lost now. So, what I said in the beginning was that the religion is a source of meaning. Do we agree on that? That it can be a source of meaning in community.
Can people get community and a sense of meaning out of religions? Sure.
Yeah, but okay, and religion is a way and creates a narrative for that. It's also, as we said, another way.
Yes, but what I asked was, what does religion add? Why do we need religion at all? What is it adding that is true and good?
Right. So what it does for the society, I think that's an anthropological matter.
Can you give us one example? Give us one example of good that religion does for society.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not sure if I can give something in the more abstract notion of good. But so let's take the meaning of life or something. So what you have is individuals who have goals that they want stuff, and they create they have meaning in the sense that they have goals. Okay, what the religion does is that some religions, I guess, it takes the idea of goal and progress and meaning from the individual, and in a way universalizes it. So
why is
we
that
all
a good
have
thing?
Right. So it's a good thing in a sense that it holds.
I said, why is that a good thing? Why would you consider that to be a good thing?
You mean the universalization of meaning?
Taking right now, I can give my life whatever meaning I want. You just said that religion takes that away from the individual and makes it more universal. Why is that a good thing? Why is it a good thing for some body of beliefs to take away my autonomy?
Right. Yeah. I guess I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it takes it from the. Yeah, I said it wrong. Okay. I meant it takes the idea of meaning that individuals have in their life and gives a universal meaning, whether it exists or not. I don't think it exists, but so it makes this symbol.
Then you're saying you don't even think it's true. I'm specifically looking for things that are true.
Right. Yeah, but we're talking about the value of religion now. So yeah, we're not talking about if it's a justified belief or something. So the value, you asked what the value was, and I say it's a matter of connecting, creating a deeper connection, because we are all striving together in a universal meaning. So in a way, it elevates the idea of meaning that the individual itself can have. So I can have things that I like and I enjoy and have goals in my life, but also I have this other connection with other people on this idea of universal telos, I guess, in the idea of purpose.
Can we all agree that religion is not the only thing that can do those things? Like, let's assume, just for the sake of argument, we agree with everything you just said, that we need some type of one-size-fits-all universal meaning of life, which I don't agree with, but let's just play with that for a second. Let's say that was a good thing. How is it that religion is the only thing that gives that to us? Or is that what you're not saying?
So I'm not sure it does, but it's not like
okay.
you get the exact
can you
same
think
thing.
Can you think of another? Can you think of a non-religious way of granting that to people?
Yeah, I guess sports, right? Teams, right? Music, I guess, in a way. Actually, yeah. So,
okay. So by your own admission, there's other ways. So by your own admission, there's other ways to accomplish this goal. Whether this goal is good or not, there's other ways to accomplish this.
It is quite different, though. They are quite different, though, right?
But it's still
everything has a unique aspect.
It still accomplishes the goal. We're talking about goals and methods to get to those goals. Okay. So with religion, especially Christianity, we may be able to get to that goal using Christianity, but we sneak in undesirable baggage along with that, namely loss of agency, loss of value, because it's a critical component of Christianity that Christ died for our sins, which necessitate us having sin and being sinful, which necessitates us being in some type of imperfect, flawed, diminished state. So that's a universal aspect of Christianity. So if you want to bring Christianity in to fix an issue like universal meaning, you automatically, with Christianity, have to impose universal flaws upon man. And I think that's a tremendous negative. Now, you said earlier that we have other methods. We mentioned sports and other things, which let's just say, okay, that's all true. You can use those methods to solve the issue without causing other issues. The same way that doctors, for the most part, can cure illnesses without causing other issues. So, sure, you just cut to the chase. Religion has utility. Yes, that utility comes at a cost. And that's a cost that me and Matt don't like. We think there's better, less destructive solutions at our disposal right now in modern day society. We have ways of solving these issues without appeals to the supernatural or the unproven, or painting man as some flawed, dirt dwelling, a mistake or God fuck up that we don't, we don't have to do that. We can get past all that crap and just get to real solutions. So why even worry about religion at this point when we can't ever demonstrate that religion does any of these things while other methods can't?
So two things about that. So let's take, for example, sports. Sports do have a lot of problems. You have tribalism, especially here in Greece, by the way. People become extreme for their team and literally kill other people that do not support their team. When you have this huge narratives and huge dogmas, those byproducts exist. Now, second thing is the fact that religion is quite different in what type of meaning it creates for the people. It's this, this idea of like ultimate forever living in a better place after this quite messed up world. It gives people hope in that sense. I don't think like sports or you can give me other examples too. Give that type of hope to people.
I'm still waiting for what religion does that is true and good, because telling me, hey, you could replace it with sports, but that has problems too. Yeah, sports has problems, fanaticism, that are similar to religion's problems. Why on earth, like, what is someone missing that can only be provided by a religion?
We're kind of getting back to the main point. So
yeah, that's what I've been trying to do, is get back to the main point.
Right. The main point was I don't think there's anything that provides something absolutely unique.
That's the point. So Manos, Manos, you can choose a religion and choose any of its benefits, and we can agree, it's a benefit that religion provides. But then we can flip right around and say, here's how this benefit can be enjoyed via non-religious means. One for one, we can do that.
Yeah, but my.
But do you agree with that? Yes. Do you agree with that statement that I just made?
That there's nothing absolutely specific to religion that cannot be attained through other ways.
Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that?
I'm not quite sure, actually. Because
that's fair. So that's fair. But if you're questioning that, if you're not sure about the answer to that, then you need to take a while and think to yourself, what does religion give us that is unique to just religion, that's either beneficial or needed by mankind? Because that's the ultimate question. What does it offer?
But my initial premise was it doesn't need to provide something absolutely unique if it's another way to achieve something that we value. That was my initial premise. And then the idea was that...
No. Religion is... So if the goal is don't be homophobic, and you make your religion homophobic, but it still has all the other problematic baggage, you don't get to just disregard the problematic baggage.
I don't. I think that this is a problem that religion has, and it's better. And I guess I lean more towards the idea that it's better to fix those problems and focus on evolving this aspect of society than to trying to absolutely bring it down as a whole.
So you want to reform religion?
I think this is what generally happens, and reformation is the best way.
Do you agree with me earlier about my assessment of Christianity? How Christianity requires you to be sinful, or requires Christ to sacrifice his life for you and your sins, which requires you to be sinful, which requires you to be in a debilitated, lowly state. Like, do you agree with all those things?
I think it can be quite harmful thinking of yourself as a sinner and a bad person.
That's a critical component of Christianity. Yeah. So I don't understand how you can look at that and go, yeah, this is preferable to us not having universal purpose.
I'm not sure how. I'm not sure we are able to value those things very analytically, or just make some very specific analysis of the benefits and the problems that religion has. I'm quite skeptical of that premise that all religion is mainly bad, but it also has some good things. So the idea here, I want to say also that the idea of being a sinful person, even though I agree it can be harmful, can be seen, again, in a more sophisticated way to look at Christianity, that we are just, in a way, just kind of failing what we want to be. So it's a matter of trying to be a better person, and never being able to reach that idealization that, it's this person that I want to be, but I cannot be this person. And this is, in a sense, the idea that we are sinful in that sense. We fail. We keep failing to ourselves. But it could be seen under a non, self-harming idea.
You seem to be bending over backwards to try to find some way to maintain religion so that you can change it into something that isn't religion. Why not just get rid of it and advocate for the good policies and good views without religion?
Right, because people so religion has played a role in the history and evolution of society, and it's deeply rooted, right? So we need
don't
more.
Give a shit.
Yeah. So is
don't
war.
care
war.
how long it's been around or how much people love it. That doesn't mean we need to maintain it in order to try to change it into something better. We can encourage people to give it up. I did. Eric did. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are giving it up on a regular basis. Why on earth would we need to keep religion at all? Which religion should we keep, by the way? If they're all false, why keep any of them? And if one of them's true, why aren't we talking about that?
Manos, think about what you just said there. Just replace religion with war. You could say that, well, war between tribes and nations has played a critical part of all of our history. We wouldn't be to where we are today without war. We should maybe look at the good parts of war and try to reform it. And we're basically saying, well, no, war requires people killing people. And that's something that can't be reformed out of the system. Same thing with Christianity. Us being sinful cannot be reformed out of the system. And this is all aside the point of you still haven't. I know you said you didn't know earlier, but you still haven't shown us anything that Christianity can give us that we need Christianity for.
Right, but
why bother?
We continue on that idea with the premise that we have ways to achieve something. Some ways are bad, and we can either get rid of them or reform them. Okay, so. And again, I think the war analogy here is like, okay, war is, you cannot really do an evaluation about war and say, yeah, war definitely has its benefits. I mean, come on, I don't think it's quite a fair analogy here.
It's an appeal to utility, is what I'm pointing out here. Just because religion had part of our history, religion may have been critical to getting us to this point in our development. I'll grant you that for the sake of argument. That doesn't mean we need religion going forward. The same way I can say about war. War may have been critical getting us to this point where nations take other nations' resources and it's developed us up to this point now. That's not me saying that we need war going forward. In fact, we can just drop religion and war right now and I'd be perfectly happy.
Yeah, I agree that the fact that something was old and has been like a part of society doesn't mean we have to keep it. Yeah, of course. The idea is that religion is still a place of a place that gives people purpose.
So, Manos, let me ask. Let's approach it from a different angle. Let's say tomorrow. Let's say tonight we all go to sleep. We wake up tomorrow, and the headline says "Religion abolished." Somehow, religion is just poof, gone overnight. What do we lose that can't be achieved by some other means? How would the world change?
Yeah, I can't really conceptualize, if you take out religion, I don't know, out of people's minds, you mean?
Just religion's gone. Yeah, sure. Religion's out of people's minds. We knew of religion, but now none of us are religious. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't want to nitpick here, but it's a weird hypothesis because I literally do not know what that means for what persons are at this point. You've deleted a very crucial part of it. I really cannot conceive what that means. Like, yeah, I literally can't. I don't know.
Are you part of a religion?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a religion?
No.
then how is it that you can say that you can't conceive of what it would be like to not have religion?
I mean,
Imagine
the
everyone.
transition.
That's a great point, Matt. Manos, imagine tomorrow we all woke up and we thought like you did.
Yeah. So what I said I cannot conceive is not someone not being convinced of religion. I meant that there is this continuity of personhood. It's a matter of metaphysics, I guess, because I don't know what it means that some person literally it gets deleted some part of his personality. What that means for the person, I guess I can assess I can answer the question, but I don't feel very I don't know very sure of what if my answer would make sense, I guess.
Well, let's analyze just a single aspect of you. Where do you get your hope, meaning, and purpose? Or do you have hope, meaning, and purpose?
I would say
I can give you mine.
Yeah, I get some from art, from fiction, from music, going out in a walk, meditation even.
You love it.
So yeah, so I do things.
Cool. So
I learn things.
I absolutely appreciate that answer. So let's just take that and go tomorrow. Religion's gone, and everyone turns to art, music, literature, meditation to find some hope, meaning, and purpose in their existence. So now we've addressed that need without religion, and I put to you that that's better than addressing that need with religion. You agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
So no, wait. Can you rephrase it a little bit because I didn't get the essence of the question.
I'm trying to basically the whole thrust of what me and Matt have been talking about and the questions we've been asking is to get you to realize that religion, while does have utility, it has very bad side effects, and religion provides no utility that cannot be provided by something else, and that's kind of what we're trying to get there. Where if we woke up tomorrow and everybody, rather than turning to religion for hope, meaning, and purpose, turn to whatever else other things they want, non-religious sources. All the things you just mentioned. I enjoy exploring the world. I enjoy playing video games. I enjoy playing fetch with my dogs. I enjoy being with my wife and my family. That's where I get my hope, meaning, and purpose.
I should have added the video games too. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But
right.
Basically, religion just simply isn't needed. Sure, it's part of our history. That's undeniable. Sure, lots of people will claim that they need it, and that's also undeniable. A lot of people will say that I need my religion. I need my relationship with God. I need that hope that the Bible offers me. They will all claim those things. But what is better, a world where people rely on that, or a world where people rely on alternatives that don't require superstition, that don't require us to consider ourselves deficient, that don't require us to have an us versus them mentality with certain religious sects? All of that. It's far better to not have religion. Go ahead.
Can I go to the analogy again for that you gave?
Sure.
So you say people forget about religion. I don't know. It stops being something that people do altogether and or think about, and they turn to those other ways to live a fulfilling life. So yeah, the thing is, I don't know. Again, I don't know what that means in a sense that this person is not the person we were talking about. So the person would not. Some persons would not find meaning in the things we named, and they would find meaning in this in the narratives of religious ideas. So I don't get the whole argument here exactly.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we're just in violent agreement here. We all say that, yeah, sure, religion gives us benefits. Me and Matt say that religion is not necessary for any of those benefits, though all those other benefits can be derived from other sources. And like, where do we go from here? Because I think we perhaps are just in violent agreement here. We can just simply move on.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can add something that would push more the dialectic here. So, okay.
All right. So Manos, we appreciate the conversation. And, earlier you said you don't know if there is something that religion offers that's unique to just religion. Perhaps think about it a little bit, because if you can identify something that religion gives us that's tangible and real and a real benefit to us that we can't identify somewhere else, then that's probably a spicier conversation to have than just sideways agreeing with each other.
I just thought about afterlife. So it gives the hope of the afterlife. I don't know if you want to assess that.
Well, that's the thing, though, is it's tangible and real. So we would first need to demonstrate that there is an afterlife before we can accurately examine it. Because other people, religious folks would say, well, you get a relationship with God, you get redemption, you get a good afterlife versus a bad afterlife. Those things cannot be demonstrated nor falsified. So those aren't the real tangible things we're looking for. Go ahead.
No, but I didn't talk about the truth of it. I said the hope in the afterlife is real. The afterlife itself.
I can hope in an afterlife without being theist. I can hope in an afterlife based purely on scientific advancement. There's individuals called transhumanists. I'm not one. Well, it's not common, but it's there. It's an alternative source. There's a thing called transhumanism where individuals believe that science will hit the point within their lives that their lives will be extended. Some even believe that perhaps in the future, individuals will be resurrected or perhaps uploaded to computers to continue their existence indefinitely. There's lots of different ideas around this that require no religion at all. So if a hope in an afterlife is something that a religion offers, science can also offer that.
Right. Again, I think we go full cycle and we go back. Okay, we don't need, because we can replace it in another way. And I'm saying, okay, this is another way. Other ways also might have their problems. We can evaluate the ways and, again, either try to take down the bad ways or make them have less byproducts. Yeah, I think it was a good discussion. I definitely have some things to think about. I might call again. Thank you very much. It was a very good discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Manos. Really appreciate it. And you have a good evening. Or Greece, you're probably morning time over there. Thank you so much.
It's very late here. Yeah.
Oh, bye. Really? Okay. I'm terrible time zones. Thanks, Manos.
Bye.
All right, who's driving this? You or is me? I don't remember.
Keep driving.
Okay. So we're at 8 p.m. Central Time. So
yeah, we'll take these two and then we'll do supers.
All right, cool. So yeah, that's it. No more calls. We'll take these next two, and then but no more new calls in the queue. We have let me take a look at these topics here. We'll just go on who waited the longest. Mike him in Washington. Mike is an atheist. Mike, you beat out the other caller by 2 minutes. So congrats. Mike's question is, how do you tell the difference between a religious book and a work of fiction as far as truth and veracity goes? Hey, Mike, how you doing? You're on the air.
Yeah, hi. First time caller, big fan of Matt. So basically, I grew up in a multi-religious household, and none of them were Christianity, and I used to read Bible books like I would read comic books. I grew up with DC and Marvel, so I've never really understood why it's anything but literature. So that's just my, I guess, bias, but I'm curious as to how one tries to argue for truth and or various points in religious books, and discounts them probably other works of fiction, or at least puts them down. Is not as serious about it as in the religious books. And I'm just trying to figure out like what's different. Like just because like the old thing goes, like New York exists, but Spider-Man doesn't. So I mean, how does that work?
Are you asking why someone picks a particular book to base their religion on? Or are you asking, because there's nothing about the text that makes it a religious work other than people say that's a religious work. That is the work for my religion. It's about what people believe and what they, hey, this book said something and I'm going to live by it. If you did that with, I don't know, Zen and the Artist of Motorcycle Maintenance, you could make that book your religious book. It's not something that is a part of the book or part of the piece of literature. It's imbued into the book by the people that are reading it and valuing it.
So would you say it's populism driven by a large amount of interpretation? Or like I'm just curious about how this happens in the entire, is it just like a lot of religions are there which are
actually
start with
a book.
Sorry.
It didn't start with a book. It starts with someone saying, this is the way you should live. And then here's why you should live that way. And then instead of providing an actual reason supported by evidence, they instead invent or cite some authority, be it a book or a figure that is represented in the book. We didn't always have books. There were oral traditions that were the religion. And so the head of the religion was, the shaman, the priest, the ancient wise person in the village or whatever else. And in some cases, instead of them being, this is me and my statements, it's much better to make it beyond you. So I'm not telling you how to live because I say so. I'm telling you how I live because this is what the universe wants. This is what a God wants. This is what our God wants. This is what their God wants. And so it didn't even exist in book form. And you could write a ton. Okay. That's all I have to say on that right now. I have to deal with something in chat.
No worries. So Mike, my response to that would be, so your question is, how do you tell the difference between a religious book and the work of fiction? And there's a few ways to look at that, but mainly we need to acknowledge that things inside of a piece of literature in a book, elements can be true, elements can be false. There might be some basis for truth on places and people and events, and other things might be pure invention. So for me, it really comes to talking about plausibility and probabilities. So when I look at a piece of religious work for, let's say, like the Bible, I'll ask myself a simple question like, okay, what's more plausible? A man rose from the dead, or somebody wrote a story of a man rising from the dead for religiously motivated purposes? Because we have many holy books where lots of people have written lots of different things, lots of conflicting things in support of their religion. They can't all be true, but they can all be false. So we have many examples, higher probability of that being the case. Whereas we have no good evidence of a man rising from the dead other than a story. And that's not even good evidence, just as an anecdote. So I look at these things and I go, okay, what's more plausible between these two things? And then in some cases I can ask what's more probable between these two things. And I'm never going to get the probability that somebody rose from the dead down to zero and completely eliminated as impossible. I don't think I'll ever do that. But my analysis and my evaluation of these things is going to push that value down so low I can ignore it. I don't care if there's a 0.0001% chance that a man rose from the dead. To me, that's virtually zero. I don't treat it as a true zero. It's there. But I have so many more examples of religious stories being written by motivated people than I do of somebody rising from the dead. So therefore, I ignore the rising from the dead possibility as a virtual zero and look at more probable and plausible explanations for those things. And I'll do that with any book, with any comic book, with any holy book, with just about anything. And that's how I determine what to accept as, tentatively accept as true, or mostly true, as probably true, and what to reject.
Yeah, true. I kind of agree with that. The only thing discussion with is and get so I do.
You're really breaking up now.
Yeah, you're breaking up. You're breaking up, Mike. You might want to step to a better spot, or I don't know what you're doing right now. Give you a second to try again.
Sorry, I didn't change anything.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say was, can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead.
What I wanted was like the discussion with theists has been.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to catch up.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Mike, you're breaking up again.
Anything you're saying. So sorry.
Yeah, I want to hear your response, but we can't hear you. Let's give you one more chance. Try to maybe jump while you're talking. Maybe we'll get better signal a few feet off the ground. Try again.
Is this? Am I
give it one more shot. Go ahead and give it one more shot, and if we don't hear you, we'll have to let you go.
Okay. So I'm just going to tie this up real quick. And I was like, in discussions with theists, it's always been that they tend to apply almost the same degree of plausibility or probability on disparate events in their books, which makes it harder to be able to tell them that this is a reasonable assumption to make, but this isn't. And I guess that's what's getting part. That's what's in the, from other religions, which have a more like based kind of thing, that these are all tales and fables that teach us things, versus, I guess, that there are different kinds of people who take it too, take it figuratively. It just brings up is there something wrong in my understanding as to why I don't inherently, and I've never since I was a child, taken it seriously as people around me take it. So, that's where my question came from. So, I'll end it now from my side at least. I think I got my answer.
Okay, sounds good, Mike. So we'll go ahead and drop you. And I think I'm going to try to recap what you just said to us. And if I get it wrong, I apologize. But it sounds like you're expressing concern because you're surrounded by people who accept these stories and they have their reasoning for it. But you find yourself standing by yourself or standing in the minority on whether these stories should be accepted as true or not. And that perhaps is throwing your conclusions, your confidence, your conclusions into question. If that is the case, and that's what you're just telling us, then just replace the religion with just about anything else in our history that was once commonly accepted, but then rejected when new information came along, such as like the Earth being flat, geocentricity, your health is dictated by humors in your body and various balances of fluids, and bleeding would fix certain issues, or leeches would fix certain issues. You can imagine people during those times go, well, no, hold on, I'm thinking about this and it doesn't quite make sense. And they find themselves in the minority, and they might find themselves discouraged or challenged because they find themselves in the minority. So if you're finding yourself in that position now, other people have found it in the past. And it really comes down to not the number of people that believe something, but the reasons they believe in it. And using like my method of analyzing claims in, say, the Bible, and then calculating plausibility, calculating probability on whether or not this claim is true or not versus some other natural explanation for the claim. I think that's a good way of coming to more accurate conclusions about these things, because it works so well on literally everything else in my life. Literally the rest of reality is how I use this method, on. So why would this suddenly not work for this book? It wouldn't make sense. So I think that's perhaps hopefully a response that might help you out there. If that's in fact what you were telling us, you were breaking up, so it was a little hard to parse it out. I think we got one more caller here, but we appreciate it, you calling in. We got one more caller. We'll go ahead and bring Ryan in. Ryan, he, him from Colorado. Ryan is a theist. The comment here: I don't know if I can finish a book project in good faith and want to chat with Matt about it. I don't know if I can finish a book project in good faith and I want to chat with Matt about it. So, Ryan, welcome. Matt's right here. You can talk to him about your book project.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank the gods that you don't believe in I got through. Not really
which one?
Theistic,
which one do you think is
neurodivergent?
Which one do you think's responsible for you getting through?
One of the fun ones, hopefully.
The fact that I'm walking, sweating, and waiting. That's what I think. The people from my tradition would say otherwise.
I asked, which of the gods do you think is responsible for you actually getting through?
God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yahweh by proper name.
Cool.
A ton of others by synonym.
I only have a couple other quick questions before I let you just get right to your point.
Absolutely.
Does that God speak to you or communicate with you in a direct way?
So let me preface with saying a lot of these answers might have yes asterisk or no asterisks, and I'm happy to expound on that. That would be yes asterisk question mark, I guess I would say.
Cool. Did you reach out and talk to that God before you called in? And did you get an answer if you did? Oh, why wouldn't you do that? Why on earth would you be calling in to talk to me about a faith project, thanking God that you got through, and you didn't bother to reach out to ask God what you should say?
Because I, as a human, with the wisdom inherent to me, evaluated my situation and said, of all of the people I know of who I could talk to about this, I think someone who is of a sound, logical, atheistic leaning, who comes from a fundamental Christian background like I did, would probably be one of my best options. Specifically you. And partially because
I'm now willing. No.
Okay.
I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop talking now. Let you make your case, ask your question, whatever else. But I'm going to ask you for a favor. No matter how this call goes, Ryan, I would like for you to talk to your God and ask him what message he would like you to deliver me, and then call back another time and deliver that. But for now, continue on with your project that you wanted to ask about.
Challenge accepted and agreed. All right. So, is it first, if I may ask, is it all right if I give you a little background on myself and where I come from, specifically not for the purpose of like trying to convert, but for the purpose of clarity and to make sure that we have the same definition for the things we're saying when we say it.
Start talking, include whatever you think is relevant, allow us to interrupt and say, how is this relevant? But anything you say, even if it's peripherally relevant, is going to be more exciting than you asking a lengthy permission to do irrelevant things.
Yeah. Ryan.
All right. Understood.
William Shakespeare once said, brevity is the soul of wit. So keep things succinct and to the point, and we'll be fine.
You have the floor.
All right. Good deal. Thank you. All right. So I came from a fundamental Christian background, specifically fundamental Southern Baptist. That's what I was raised in. And that is the terms under which I accepted Christ, as we say from our tradition. The church that I went to was, I guess, great as churches go. But one of the problems I had was I was always a very analytical thinker. And also I had a really big problem, as I saw it back then, that I also read the Bible a lot. And I made this decision that this is a God. I'm believing in this God. If all of this is true, then like just Sunday morning social club is not going to cut it. I should really dedicate to this. And so I did. But this led me to seeing a lot of things coming out of like, the churches I went to, the pastors I was under, that I just couldn't agree with biblically. It felt like hypocrisy. And also, over the course of my faith, I really came to a lot of times where I found things in Scripture that, as read, were morally objectionable. And I always had mentors in the faith who would give me the fun theological gymnastics of, well, what it actually means is this, and this and that way, and all of that in a perfect world if we all follow Jesus' hold hand, all this kind of stuff. I never really could accept that. And after high school, it led me to, I went to Bible college. But while there, I also studied a lot of religions. And my older sister...
A lot of what?
Who has a lot of religion.
Okay. By the way, your phone is going into like a soft mute thing from time to time. So every now and then we drop a word, but keep going.
Oh, sorry about that. But I studied a lot of religions and a lot of religious points of view while still maintaining the one that I was raised in, for the most part, or at least the traditions of it that I'd come to adopt. One of the things that I always took issue with was anytime that I saw people advocating for cruelty, things like homophobia, things like transphobia, things like racism, things like misogyny, things like slavery, things that are explicitly written out in Scripture. But, you know, any sane person would say that's not a good thing, I would say. Now, over the course of time, I got to a point where I reconciled most of the things that I come to because of conversations with my older sister, who had a doctorate in theology and was a minister and was amazing. But she was on the academic side of things. And one of the things my sister always told me was, every true theologian comes to a place where they become an atheist, and the ones that make it out the other side are the ones who come back. And I think I've hit that point. I don't know if I am going there or coming there, I guess you would say.
I'm sorry,
But
you broke up there again. You don't know if you're going what?
I don't know which way I'm leaning in terms of my view. And here's where it gets complicated, and here's why I called it for advice. My sister passed away a handful of years ago.
I'm sorry.
And I had made thank you. I had made a promise to her that I was going to write this book. Now, this book came from a trip I had with her, big long road trip. We started talking about creationism. She was explaining why creationism is not biblical, and why, or it is biblical, but it's not sane and rational. And her point of view was, one of the things she used to love to say is, the book of Genesis tells how God created everything twice. The book of Genesis tells who's responsible for creating everything. I forget who made it. If you focus on how it was done, you're missing the point. You shouldn't think of it as Moses taking scientific dictation from God. You should vision Papa Moses gathering the Israelites and telling them the story over the campfire.
That sounds to me like an excuse for the fact that it's wrong.
So here's where I would take issue with that. And here's actually where I would want your point of view.
Okay.
I no longer hold what I would consider a traditional theist, at least not with the traditions I came from. I studied a lot of Kabbalah and a lot of Taoism, Shinto, a lot of Eastern religions and other stuff when I was in high school, or when I was in college.
Something's still going on with the audio. I don't know if it's because you're walking around. You sound like you're jogging on a track and moving the mic away from your mouth or rubbing it up against your face or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Brian, I think you do what I do when you're on a call, when you're nervous, is you pace. I used to do that a lot. Try to just sit down.
Me too.
Yeah. All right. We'll do.
Yeah.
All right. So,
just to kind of,
sure.
Yeah, no worries. Feel free to take a drink. So basically, you kind of gave us an info dump on your history about, your upbringing and doubts you had, your studies. You went to high school. You studied religion in college. You have a sister who passed away, and condolences. And you said you want to write a book about the Bible or about these stories. And your sister said that you say that one more time. Your sister had a disagreement with you on that, or you were expressing your doubts, and your sister basically told you to ignore these things.
So let me make it a little more brief on that. So the long and short is, we're on this road trip, and we're having a debate about creationism. And she made the statement, no one can believe God made the world in 7 days, or in 6 days and then rested, and also believe science is true when it says it took millions, if not billions of years for us to come along. Which I argued, yeah, you can. I do. And she looked at me and she said, okay, how? And I adopted a Kabbalist principle of
what
equality
principle?
through paradox. Kabbalism, Kabbalah, Hebrew mysticism.
Okay.
But it advocated a point of view that at a certain level, when approaching divinity, paradox can exist simultaneously without conflict. You could take a naturalistic point of view about this and relate it to the idea of quantum probability and how we have quantum collapse as to whether we have a binary yes or no on things.
No,
There's nothing
this
with
is
the same
no,
degree
this is Ryan. Stop. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Okay.
First of all, quantum uncertainty doesn't violate the principles of identity, non-contradiction, and excluded middle. A paradox is basically a violation of non-contradiction. Quantum mechanics does not do that because whatever you just need. Logic doesn't define what is. It's once you have the definition, something either fits it or it doesn't. So something is either indeterminate or it's not. And everything is either indeterminate or not. And nothing is both determinate and indeterminate, or not determinate and not indeterminate at the same time in the same way. So you basically argued yourself out of logic in order to avoid a potential paradox.
So can I respond to that?
You just basically said, yeah, okay, sure.
So here's my response to that is not, I wouldn't agree, but only, again, asterisks. And you might be right, and I might change my mind in a moment. The approach that I gave and the answer that I gave concerning the idea of creationism and paradox was this. And I want to preface all of this with saying my definition.
Oh my God, get to it. Don't preface anything else. Get to the point.
I'm terribly sorry. I'm both nervous and neurodivergent here.
I get it. What's the point?
I'll continue on. So the analogy I gave, and I fell to analogy because theologically that's what we always fell to. The analogy I gave is, let's say I'm an author, and let's say I'm writing a fantasy book, and let's say I have this world that I made that, and in the book I write the world is 7 billion years old. And I start describing everything in it and so forth and so on. And then I stop and I ask you the question, all right, test time, how old is this world that just made up? You could answer that the world is 7 billion years old, which in the context of the reality of the world, it is. Or you could see it's 7 minutes old in the context of the perspective of the one who created it. Now,
the world doesn't exist.
Hmm?
The world has the world you're talking about has no age. It does not exist.
So, here's where I found a mild contradiction to this.
No.
If I may, please.
No.
Okay.
It's an equivocation fallacy that you are injecting in your analogy. You are equivocating on the time, on age. The world has an internal age, which you have defined as 7 billion years. The concept of the world has an age that is in however long it's been since you came up with it. It is an equivocation fallacy to equate the time since you came up with it and the time within the model and suggest that this eliminates any paradox. There's no paradox because they're not the same fucking thing. They are two completely different times.
So, two things. One, I fail to see the difference between this as an analogy and the one that you were using earlier concerning meta time, where our existence is within the context of a larger context. Now, I understand it's not a literal one. And please let me explain something here. I'm not calling to be argumentative, and I'm not calling to prove something. I'm calling because
then I don't want to talk to you. I'm so sick to death of this. When you present your case and I point out what the fallacies are, then you're like, well, I'm not calling to be argumentative and I'm not calling to prove anything. Then you're calling to waste my time.
No, I'm trying to call to debate, but with any good debate, you have to have an equal ground of context, don't you agree?
If you want to debate, you can go and apply for a debate and we can do it equitably. But if you just want to talk about your ideas, I'm telling you, it's an equivocation fallacy to equivocate two times. When you say, how is it different from what I said earlier? I didn't make a claim that there was a meta time, and I did not hold the time within our universe equivalent to time in other contexts. As a matter of fact, I was drawing a distinction. Shut the fuck up. I'm talking. I was drawing a distinction between our internal frame of time and other possible frames of time. So I can't be guilty of an equivocation fallacy when I'm distinguishing between two different things. But your argument was an equivocation fallacy because you said, what is the age of the universe? And that is an ambiguous question because there's an internal age of the universe and then there's an age of the concept of the universe. So either you're equivocating on age, or you're equivocating the universe with the concept of the universe. You've got a double equivocation fallacy in your analogy. Fix that.
I feel like this took a turn. I feel like you're attempting to argue something when I was attempting to ask advice about something.
Well,
and
did you just tell me a big long? Did you just tell me a big long fucking story? What is the question you'd like advice about? Because I addressed what you actually said. I haven't heard anything that's asking me about advice yet, and we've been at this for 15 fucking minutes. So, what advice would you like?
I apologize for the rambling. And the advice is this, and this relates to calls you've already had today. And on the topic of the worth of religion, the two callers you just had, one of the things that, honestly, I don't know that I could actually say this without going into more detail than you'd be willing to really engage with. I apologize for that.
Ryan,
are you giving up?
Do you want advice or what? Because it sounds to me like you called in to say that, you know, your sister told you this thing that all theologians become atheists and then some come back, and you're at the point of teetering because you made a promise to her. And somehow or another, it seems like you're teetering between staying the atheist that your theological studies made you become and going back to religion, despite the fact that you find tons of problems with it. Here's my thing. If your answer to my first question was honest and accurate, that there is a God that does communicate with you directly, how could you possibly be teetering and even considering not believing? If a God communicated with me directly, what the fuck could make me waver?
There are things I can think of to answer this, but
you won't.
I don't think you'd accept them. I'm sorry.
Cool. Cool. Your protective, your defense protective measures, Ryan, of I've got an answer for you, but I don't think you'd like it. I don't want to give it. That's you. That's you. Shut up.
I'm sorry.
That's you putting your shit on me. You have sat there and said, "Ooh, I don't think Matt's going to take this," or "I don't think I'm going to get the answer." So instead of actually presenting the case and being honest in discussion, you've instead basically said, "I've got an answer, but I don't think you'll like it, so I'm not going to present it." Cool. Why are you still wasting my time, Ryan?
All right, I'll give that an answer, and then you can decide whether we continue. The reason is because when I called in, I wasn't teetering between atheism and theism. The reason that I called in is because I have a point of view that is basic knowledge has not been really expressed terribly well in most of the traditions I grew up in. I have a point of view also about it that it addresses the concept of religion as a positive thing while not locking you into some really horrible stuff. And I'm at a point where I haven't heard anything that really makes this. It's kind of the opposite of your question about a world without religion, what do we lose? It's sort of like saying there's a one-size-fits-all Band-Aid. There are people who need belief, and yes, they can find it in other things, sure. And yes, I believe religion, when it forces you into a belief system that is bad, is not beneficial, should not be followed. I agree with those things. I was calling because I have a promise to my dead sister personally, and I have a concept, but I don't want to put it out if it actually will cause harm. I am a theist, but I do not want to put out a theological point of view, especially if it might A, catch on, or B, be adopted to justify things. And I wanted the point of view of an atheist who I respected and trusted about this lens through which religion can be viewed.
Ryan, let me ask you a couple questions here, Ryan. Do you value truth?
Sure. I do, very much.
Do you value finding truth in the face of uncomfortable conclusions or valuing truth despite it going against our emotions and our preconceptions and our desires?
I do. And in the work I'm talking about,
Ryan, hold on. You talked a lot. let me finish my questions here, okay? So this conversation's been a little bit difficult to track. I've kept notes as best I could, but from what it sounds like is you've had a history of looking at the Bible and looking at objectively or objectionable things in the Bible, such as slavery, misogyny, and other things. You pointed out the conflicting accounts in Genesis and how those details should just be ignored. And now you're also talking about accepting religion, or not accepting religion rather, but following this course because you made promises to your sister and you have other reasons, which don't tell me that you're going after objective truth. You're going after something with an emotional goal there. So from what I've gathered from this conversation, Ryan, is that you're looking for ways, you're looking for excuses how to get out of these problems that you have very honestly found in the Bible. Yes, the Bible condones slavery. The Bible has God killing children, babies in their cribs. The Bible has misogyny and war and atrocity. And you need to square that up with your perception or your religion's perception of God. And it sounds like what you're trying to do is justify ignoring these facts for a favored conclusion rather than acknowledging the facts and adjusting your conclusion appropriately. So what is it you want us to tell you? What is it you're here for? Because this is kind of what I'm getting out of this. Because you've dropped these little tidbits, and I'm painting a picture in my head of he sees conflicts, he sees moral objections, he sees problems, and he's looking for ways to ignore them.
So, are you done?
Go ahead.
Okay. So the perspective that I kind of came to was that are there things in the religion, the scripture, the so forth and so on, that are wrong, that are incorrect, that are a product of their time? I think a reasoning person would absolutely say yes. But I feel like it comes to a baby with the bathwater scenario. I believe that the way I view religion is belief. It is your very firm belief that you use to try and guide your life. I think that beliefs, I am persuaded that beliefs are the result of the things that we observe or the accounts that we believe are true. And I think, of course, it's very possible a lot of things in a lot of religions might just be the result of a coincidence. Someone saw a thing, someone missed all the things, a story grew, so forth and so on.
So Ryan,
the point of view may I please finish? I'm almost there.
Go ahead.
Thank you. The point of view that I fell on was this, that there's not a way reliably in our life, in this physical existence, to be able to say with the kind of certainty that we do about physical things, the direct nature of God. Scripture even advocates that in terms of talking about everything that comes after a sin for a mirror darkly. Your mind has seen no, and I have seen no mind consumed.
Ryan, I need you to back up and repeat that, only because what I heard was there's no way in our life to be able to say with the kind of certainty that directed me to a God. That's a comparative sentence that is only half done, so that thought doesn't make any sense.
Oh, sorry. In the same way that was argued earlier, that there might be a metatime in which time exists. In the same way of that, hold on, I just lost my point there.
It's probably good, because I didn't argue that there might be a meta, and I don't believe there necessarily is. I was posing one of a number of potential hypotheticals that we don't have the ability to explore that would serve as a framework. I don't believe the meta. I don't believe the metaverse exists. It would be a mistake to believe the metaverse exists. It would be a mistake to believe the multiverse exists. It would be a mistake to believe that other universes exist. It would be a mistake to believe that a God exists if there isn't evidence for it. It seems that what you're trying to do, you've got this potential. You think you've come up with a lens with which to view religion that will excuse the problems with it, but keep the things you like. And here's my question. How do you know that the problem things aren't true and the things that you like are true? And why don't you talk to God and have God tell you which parts to keep and which parts to get rid of?
So my response to that would be, my conclusion is that if you do believe in a God, you believe that all of this was created by some being for some purpose, that belief gives you the responsibility to thoroughly investigate it, not to simply say it was God, wash your hands of it. To study why things happen. The entirety of science comes out of, if you actually believe there's a God, the entirety of science can come from that. And the
fact that you believe science can come from that doesn't mean that science does come from that.
That's true.
So how do you demonstrate that? How do you demonstrate that science does come from that? Because otherwise you're basically advocating for believing a delusion. And you didn't even come close to answering the question that I asked, which was, how do you tell the difference between the beliefs you want to expunge as problematic, that they didn't come from a God, and the ones you don't want to expunge that came from a God? How do you know that any of them came from a God? And why haven't you asked God? Why are you calling me and Eric instead of asking God? Hey, God, there's all these problems in the Bible. I'm really struggling here. I'm curious as to why there are these problems. Is this the failing of human men? And if so, why haven't you corrected it? Is this some bias and bigotry that got worked in here in translations? We don't have the original copies. We don't have autographs. We don't have anything like that. God, you promised that your scripture would not return void unless that verse wasn't from you. You promised that all scripture is useful for instruction and breathed by God, except that we don't have any way of telling which parts of what we call scripture is actually the scripture that God's supposedly talking about. And we don't have a way to demonstrate that God is actually the one saying all scripture is God breathed. Maybe that's just fucking Paul. So why are you calling me to look to see if I'm a fan of a lens that you're going to try to use to rehabilitate religion? Why don't you ask God? God talks to you in a direct way, asterisk.
So first of all, your original thing was communicates, not talks. And yes, I know that's very pedantic. But
okay,
no, I do not believe God
I retract talks and go with communicates. How wonderful that you failed to address the question. How wonderful that you knew exactly what the fuck I meant and still decided to dodge the question again. I'm not asking again.
I was attempting to answer honestly.
No, you weren't. Did you know what I meant when I said talks instead of communicates? Did you know? Because we'd already talked about this before, right? And how many times have I now asked you why you didn't ask God? Okay, prove me wrong. Why haven't you asked God? Answer the question. I'm waiting.
I don't think I'm going to, because I think you just answered mine. And that's that.
Fuck you, Ryan.
I should
Goodbye.
probably.
Nope. I'll steer for that.
Yeah.
You don't fucking actually grab me by the nose and lead me around here, and I ask you the same question. Now I'm not going to answer because I think you just answered mine.
Yeah.
Go away, Ryan.
Again, when folks don't want to answer questions, there's some gear turning, and they don't like where the conversation is going, and that it tells us a lot. Your refusal to answer a question tells us a whole lot, and it doesn't make you look good. It doesn't make your God look good. You may want to think about that before you try that again. You brought up a really good point earlier that, you know, Ryan's basically doing the cafeteria Christian approach, where he sees the whole set of claims in the Bible. He likes some, he doesn't like others. and he wants to ignore the ones he doesn't like and accept the ones that he does like. And he'll paint stories like, quantum whatevers. When I write a book, I can write two conflicting details about the world, but the world is still real because all that. Like you can do all those mental gymnastics and everything. But Ryan, maybe think about it this way. You have a set of claims in the Bible. You accept some as true. And for whatever reason, whether it be moral or logical or factual, whatever, you reject the others. Okay, so you have that particular Christian belief. Let's say I'm a Christian, I come along, and I have the exact opposite acceptance and rejection of those beliefs. I accept all the things that you reject, and I reject all the things that you accept. And I do it on the same grounds as you. I can list my morality, my feelings, my promises to family members, or whatever. How do we, you and I, in that state, get closer to the truth? How do we determine who is more correct? Because we can both be kind of correct. Maybe some of my facts that I'm accepting are true, and actually some of them aren't. And same with you. We can be in the middle. You can be completely correct. I can be completely correct. Or maybe we're both completely false. So the question is, how do we take a situation like that and come to a better understanding of what truth actually is? And that's what comes into epistemology. An epistemology, where you're picking and choosing as if you're a person at a buffet, picking the ribs, skipping the shrimp, grabbing some mashed potatoes, skipping the jello. That's not a reliable way to get to truth. I think we can both agree to that, hopefully. So if you can think, or rather take that back, that's not a reliable way to get to truth in literally anything else in our lives and existence. So why are you throwing away that realization when it comes to your preferred religion, when it comes to your preferred set of beliefs? Why do you throw away that methodology that you rely on in literally every other aspect of your life? And all of a sudden it has no value because we're now reading an old book written by numerous dudes over hundreds of years, thousands of years ago. So you might want to ask yourself why you're doing that, because that might tell you a lot about your motivations and whether or not you're being honest with yourself. Because when I see a cafeteria Christian who says, I'm going to reject that scripture, but pick this scripture, that doesn't at all indicate honesty to me. It doesn't at all indicate a desire for actual truth. It indicates a desire for emotional comfort. And I'm not going to accept that as a reliable way of getting truth.
I find it strange. I mean, Ryan's struggling and clearly upset. Very sorry that you lost your sister. There's an emotional component to this, but maybe at another time, Ryan might be ready to answer questions. But Ryan, if the advice you wanted is, should I write my book that tries to describe a lens under which you can view Christianity to soften the terrible parts of it? Yes, absolutely. Go write that book. I will buy a copy and I will review it. And I will point out that what I care about is not how mean the Bible is or how immoral the Bible is. I care about whether or not it's true, and how strange it is that someone who affirms that God communicates directly with them, although doesn't talk or speak, and there's an asterisk that we didn't get to, but someone who can ask God questions and God will communicate with them directly, decided to call into our show for advice without asking God first and without bothering to ask God what God thinks of the lens with which you are approaching the Bible. God, I'm trying to understand this. Could you help me? That never occurred to you? Or is it the case that you've been asking God for help and not getting the answer that you really find helpful or useful? Maybe God's decided not to communicate as directly with you as you suggested. I'm really sorry that you're going through whatever you're going. At first, there was a point where it seemed like you were saying, because your sister said, hey, theologians become atheists, and then some of them come back. And you expressed a half thought at that point in the conversation, or the phone cut out. I don't know which is there, but the half thought that I thought you expressed was essentially you saying, I promised my sister I would do this, but now I have all kinds of concerns about the Bible. I'm not sure whether I should, still be a part of this or whatever. I thought, and it didn't make sense to me. And so for that, thank you for correcting me. I misunderstood what you said. And so the one thing that I thought you said that was absolutely ridiculous, I retract, because it would be absurd for someone who is honestly convinced that God communicates directly with them to stop believing. That would be irrational. To abandon, it wouldn't even be something you could do. I'm not convinced that beliefs are a doxastic choice. And so what kind of life would it be to say, yep, I don't believe in God anymore, but he still communicates directly with me? What the hell am I going to do about that? That would be absurd. And so I'm glad that you're not in the position of being absurd, but you are in the position of exercising fallacies and abandoning reason and logic to bend over backwards to make things appear better than they are. You have no way to demonstrate that the parts you like are the true parts and the parts you don't like are the false parts. You have nothing, no mechanism, despite the fact that you should have the absolute best mechanism, which is the all-knowing, all-powerful creator and sustainer of the universe that you believe communicates with you directly, to say, hey, this part of the Bible, I didn't do that. That's not me. That's not what I want. I don't want women to be second-class citizens. I want them to be able to own property in the same way that men can own property. I don't know why the Bible says the opposite. I don't know. I don't want you to own people as property. I certainly don't want you to pay more for male slaves than female slaves. I don't want you to let male slaves go if they're Hebrew in the first 7 years, but keep their wives and children behind. I don't want that. Also, original sin. That's not really a thing. It's an analogy. It's a metaphor. It's a bit of playing around that somebody tried to do to explain that we're imperfect. So let's massage this, and we'll take it all as analogy, and we'll take it as stories, and we won't have to worry about the fact that Genesis gets the order of creation wrong, because it's just allegory, it's just metaphor, it's just the lens that you're talking about is something that Seth Andrews, who will be on the Sunday show with me. By the way, Arden, if you want to get the list of stuff, if you haven't already done it, I'm gonna take a look at that here in just a second and announce it.
It's in there.
Okay. The lens that you're talking about is the same thing that Seth Andrews called his God glasses. Seth gave a talk many years ago. It's out there. It's available on YouTube. You can call in on Sunday. I'll be here with Seth. And if you want to just talk to Seth and say, I'd rather Matt didn't talk because Matt upsets me and Matt challenges me too much, I'll shut up. I'll play a game of chess while you talk with Seth if you think that would be helpful. But Seth did a talk about his God glasses. He also did a talk called Religion Made Me Talk Like an Idiot. I think that a lot of people get frustrated, when I call something out as dumb or stupid or idiotic. I am dumb, I am stupid, and I am idiotic frequently. It's not an assessment of the entirety of somebody's character or their value. I value some people who are dumber than a sack of hammers just because I love them, just because I care about them as people. I think some of the people that I would look at and go, God, that person's dumber than a sack of hammers, are on occasion fucking brilliant and wonderful. But Seth's talk about Christianity made me talk like an idiot. That's what happens with the overwhelming majority of Christian callers that call into these shows. Because Christianity puts you in a position where you're doing what you're doing, Ryan. You are desperately looking for a way to make it not awful. You are desperately looking for a way to make it not false, not broken, not anti-science. You want it to be the foundation of science, but you don't have any evidence for that. You don't have any reason for that. You don't have any epistemic warrant for that. It's just, wow, we don't necessarily have a grounding for this. God would serve as a grounding. Therefore, we'll just go with God as a grounding and it makes me feel better. I now have a grounding for logic, and it's in this God. No, you don't. You're pretending like you have a foundation for logic. You are cosplaying as someone who has a foundation. You haven't demonstrated a thing. And the more time you spend trying to create a pair of God glasses to put on the world, to change how they view reality, the less time you have available to learn and understand reality as it actually is. I got one life. If there's an afterlife or anything else, it's a bonus. But I got one life, and I don't need to run around trying to find a way to make Nazis seem nice, to make fascists seem kind, to make Christians seem reasonable, to make Muslims and Hindus seem rational in their religious beliefs. I don't have time. It's up to them. They need to demonstrate the truth of it. They need to demonstrate the reliability of it. It's not whether or not it's practical. It's not whether or not it serves some use. Well, maybe religion serves a use. Yes, it does. Of course it does. I can't believe anybody would think that religion doesn't serve use. Somehow it's managed to dupe people, but it's not useful at all. It absolutely is. Eric and I could leave our homes right now, jump in a car, and probably drive 10 to 15 minutes tops. I don't know how densely. Eric might have to drive a little further. But within 30 minutes, we could both drive to a church and go in and say, I want to join this church. I'm a believer. I want to be a part of this community. And we would instantly get a community to participate in, be welcomed and loved. And then we'd find out all the terrible shit that happens in that church, just like every other church over time. But at the beginning, it'd be awesome, because when you show up as a guest in a church, you know, Ryan, you were Southern Baptist. Man, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Isn't God good to join us this morning? And I know I see some faces out here. I see some faces out there. I'm not going to point any of you out. We're not here to make any of you feel uncomfortable. I wouldn't do that. But we want you to know you're welcome. And we want you to know that even if you're not a church member, we are proud and happy that you've come here to be with us today. And we would like to invite you to participate with the rest of us. Now, if that's something that interests you, right in the seat pocket, right up in front of you as you're sitting in the pew, is a little visitor's card. If you fill that out and drop it in the offering plate today before you leave, we'll be happy to take that information and come out and speak with you privately. You don't have to do it here in front of everybody else. But whether you fill out that card or not, just know that there's a God above who loves you and is happy that you've decided to join us here on this wonderful Sunday morning. You don't think that happens all over the place? You think it's easy for me just to do that when I've been an atheist for I don't know how many years now? Multiple decades? To just slip into what somebody, if you quoted that and played it at a church, nobody'd fucking know. Nobody'd know. That's the reality of this. It's community. And that's one of the things that we are missing in the secular community. And one of the reasons we're missing it is because so many people have been so wounded by religion and wounded by the government and wounded by the system and wounded by other people that it's difficult for us to trust each other enough to come together. People who were in churches got so tired of seeing the offering plate passed, they don't want to. When we ask for donations, they don't want to contribute. That sounds too much like church. Click the like, click the subscribe, join the channel, join the Patreon, contribute however you can, because we're trying to put out good information. I don't want to do that. That's too much like church. It is a little bit like church. And you know what part of church it's like? The successful part, the part that allows it to function. If there weren't people donating to churches, they would cease to exist. You'd just be having a Bible study in your living room, and still somebody would be supplying the money because somebody's going to buy the treats. And somebody's got to own that house where you're meeting. Welcome to secular humanism, where we don't have to grandstand in that way, but maybe we should. I don't go to the Sunday assembly stuff. I don't go to Oasis. I don't go to Sunday morning meetings among the secular. I don't go to the Unitarian church. If I'm in church on a Sunday, I am almost always in a Christian church. Hasn't happened in a long time. But I used to go regularly to make sure that when I'm talking on the shows, I'm not misrepresenting things. I'm not going just from my memory of, well, when I was 15, they said this, because when I was 15, there was no fucking internet. Or at least not one we could access. Anyway, thus endeth the sermon. Eric, we got some super chats from people who are in fact willing and eager to donate.
This is great because we never do super chats on Sunday show, so I'm looking forward to this. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's always fun on Wednesday. So I'll start and then we'll alternate. But $10 from William Mattis. Right. Matt, you're definitely not generic, geriatric maybe. LOL sarcasm. Love to you and Eric. Hope everything goes well and all. Thanks. I don't know what it's like. Geriatric is almost as a gray zone to me as sentience, because there's arguing about where the thing. So geriatric evidently just it's just about old people. So maybe it's a subjective assessment. I would think though, maybe we could add some structure to it by looking at geriatric medicine to see, does that like just apply like post-menopause or, I don't know. We need Dr. Ben. Dr. Ben, please call in and tell me when I'm actually geriatric.
Yeah, Ben, I go off of when McDonald's discounts your coffee, so I might need a better metric than that.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't get the senior citizen discount yet. I'm not drawing Social Security. I don't know if it's fair to say I'm geriatric, but whatever I am is fucking awesome.
That's another thing too. Like I've seen 80-year-olds look as young as 50, and 50-year-olds look as old as 80. So at what point, like, I don't know. It's maybe the same thing as like the line between Gen X and millennials. Kind of a fuzzy little zone in there, and once you meet certain criteria, you're in one group and out the other. I don't know.
So much so that I forgot which group I was in on one of the shows. I said I was a millennial when I'm Gen X. Now everybody forgets Gen X. Even as Gen Xers forget there's a Gen X.
Yeah. It's between Boomer and Millennial, right? Okay. Right. $9.99 from Daniel Robles. Praying that those 400 flight crews are getting the rest they need. Yeah, they're definitely resting if they're not working. Yeah.
Always nice to see you in here, Daniel. Hope you're still doing well. It was great getting to hang out to you when I was down in Florida.
Yeah, that was part of my ordeal with Delta a couple weeks ago. Boarded one plane, mechanical issues after an hour. Deplaned, boarded another plane an hour later. They were transferring cargo and fueling, and then an hour waiting into that, they said, "Oh, sorry, we're outside of our legal window. Everyone off the plane." And then we ended up waiting like another 12 hours for our next flight. So yeah, it's a thing. They need their rest, absolutely. I think it's a good rule. I just kind of wish the dispatch was handled that better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is why Pete Buttigieg has started an investigation into them, because it seems ridiculous that there could be that many crews. Ooh, wow. I'm going to do everybody a treat. Just remind me at the end of the super chats. It would seem that it's strange that there would be that many crews in need of break. So I don't think that could be the reason for all 400 of them.
I doubt that. Yeah. If I had to guess, I bet it's just, I bet it's some downstream thing from the Cloudflare thing, because I knocked out a lot of airlines. And when you have like a slew of canceled flights, that's going to ripple for days, probably. That's just my guess. I have no idea.
All right. $10 from Maverick Music. Matt, love the show. Been watching since I became an atheist at 23, now 38. Wow. I have a quick question. Would you say to have free will would have to be able to deviate from God's plan? Yeah, kind of, in the sense that I basically you're really good timing. I released a video on July 9th on my channel called God's Surprise, No Free Will, with a question mark. And it's a 3-pronged approach to dealing with a creator God who knows the future and chooses which universe to create and when to intervene. There's other videos related to this coming soon, including whether or not God himself, if he exists, has anything at all approaching free will. But if in fact there is a God who has a plan, and that plan can't be wrong, and the God knows the plan and knows what you're going to do beforehand, and with the God as the creator who picked this universe, then yes, you don't have anything at all like free will, because it's just you acting according to God's plan. Assuming God created the universe, could have created a different universe, and knew what was going to happen in both of the universes. Anyway, I put it up as an analogy. And it doesn't have an equivocation fallacy, despite the fact that all analogies are imperfect.
Mm-hmm. Every analogy breaks once you push it too far. All right, we got $10 from Monkey at Typewriter. I have a fair few problems with Kamala Harris' record, but hilariously, most of them are about her record on crime, drugs, sex work, which make her more appealing to Republicans. Good show, fellas. What's your YGH?
Yeah.
Oh, you gay, homie.
You're gay, homie. Thanks, Monkey. Yeah, no, we're in violent agreement there. I'm sure there's plenty of other places where we're in agreement, even if you're wrong about cops. $10 from Sheridan Bernasconi. The Republicans want to impeach Kamala. Well, right now, everybody wants to impeach everybody. We want to impeach the Supreme Court. We want to impeach presidents. We want to impeach anybody and everybody we don't like. Impeach. It's going to be to the point where impeach becomes essentially what censure used to be. And censure is going to become like, shame on you at worst, which actually it wasn't much more than that ever anyway. And it's kind of like mudflation. Our penalties, we're going to, are we going to get to a point where you just, well, fine, we're just going to kill him. I mean, that when you fall down that slippery slope and it's like, well, we're going to censure you. Oh yeah. Well, I'm going to impeach you. Oh yeah. Well, we're going to beat you up before we impeach you. Oh yeah. Well, we're going to, it's a slippery slope for sure.
Yeah. I think, according to this article, articles of impeachment were actually filed, but just like one or two Republicans were behind it. So it's kind of like rattling your cage bars. Like, you're not going to get anywhere with it, but you're just making some noise, kicking up some dust. You're going to see a lot of this until things like coalesce around some like strategy for the coming months. But yeah, I'm not surprised that we're seeing these types of things happen.
Yeah.
1999.
I didn't even notice stuff like that. I didn't even notice that they it's the Tennessee Republican files articles of impeachment against Harris yesterday. It's a stunt and gamesmanship. There's nothing to impeach. The only thing they can impeach her for is, where you been? We haven't seen you in like 3 years.
Yeah. It's they can file impeachment articles all they want. It's only when you get a following behind it and the votes and to push it forward, that's when it becomes serious business. But anyway, 1999 from Wonder, pronoun she, her. I like the idea of Kamala Harris for president. I know she was for a single payer system before she was vice president. So I'm hoping that as president, she will at least not ignore our healthcare costs that are obscenely high for many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I pay
out of pocket. I pay out of pocket a little over $900 just per month, just for me, and then have to pay for my prescriptions and all the other stuff, and my copay and my deductible and all that stuff. It's one of the things why I'm really grateful for the line, because it used to be I had a regular job in software and then ran through my entire life savings trying to do all this stuff. Now, while we're still trying to get my YouTube channel to pay out because it's monetized, but I haven't made any money off of it yet. The line has been essentially, you guys have been paying to keep my health care and keep me just enough above water. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah. I've been on both sides of that fence. I'm in software now, and I have some pretty decent healthcare through my company. But no, in my almost virtually my entire 20s, no healthcare. This was before Obamacare hit, and individuals up to 26 were insured by their parents. So I was in that zone before that occurred. So my entire 20s, virtually no healthcare, and I got pretty lucky because I'm a generally healthy individual. But I can understand how, if you don't take care of health issues up front, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of care. it's going to snowball and become an issue later on in life and cost you thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. No, that's
on
why
things that
so
could have been
expensive now.
addressed early. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and we need to realize that with respect to healthcare. Making it so that people are discouraged or from seeing a physician on a regular basis means things spiral out of control. My diabetes went undiagnosed and untreated for 5 to 10 years, and because of that, something that could have easily been treated in the beginning, now I have basically a dead pancreas, and I'm somewhat insulin dependent. And that led to a whole bunch of other things, like, I heal slower. I've got a scratch on the back part of my head right here. It's just a little scratch with a scab that has been there for 7 years, I think. And it just never quite heals just because I'm diabetic, and there's all the blood that goes up goes directly into my brain to fuel the atheism. And so none of it makes it all the way to the tippy top of that spot up there where it needs some healing. Maybe I should get one of those where you hang upside down like a bat, and then it'll help the blood flow down and actually heal it.
I've seen those.
Because I got a sore on my toe and it healed, or is healing. Anyway. $11 Canadian from David Haxor. Everything is at risk under Trump. Yeah. I don't know what else to say other than thank you. I agree.
$139.99 Canadian from Nellie Wilson. Matt, here's $1 for every brain cell I lost in chat tonight. That's how'd you lose a fraction of a brain cell? 99% of a brain cell.
I think they lost 140 brain cells, Canadian, and then when YouTube transcribes it, they take away part of a brain cell.
Maybe. But hey, I'll raise my empty beer can to your 0.01% of a brain cell that survived the ordeal tonight. It's a trooper brain cell.
Do they make beer that's 0.01%? I'm just teasing.
Oh, yeah. Why not? That might be a really good gimmick. Yeah, it's O'Doul's, but it probably does have trace amounts of alcohol in there. Yeah, you're probably right. Somebody already beat us to it. Thought that was a great idea, Matt. Okay. Eric, thanks for volunteering to take the show over tonight. It ended up being good cop, equally entertaining. Also, #Team Arden. Well, Nellie, it's my pleasure. Glad you enjoyed the show tonight.
Eric's always good cop to my awful cop, good cop. I don't know.
If we're ever in the same studio, together, I will restrain you from attacking the microphone. Like, we can play it up. Yeah. If I see you about to flip the table, I can just help you out.
If you're the good cop, does that mean you're still a bastard?
That was my first interpretation. I don't know. That's a really good question. I might be.
Anyway, $20 from Salty Seattle Cyclist. Just found out that my coworker / dating interest is a MAGA Fox News person. I thought she just didn't want to talk about politics because her mom died in the pandemic. Yes, due to that. Am I the asshole for no longer being interested? No. I mean, you found out something about someone that you were previously interested in, and that's something that makes them less attractive, and so you're less interested. It doesn't mean you're an asshole. I am I don't know.
I say that your attraction, your compatibility, and the probability of your success all increases when you have compatible interests, not necessarily the same interests, but complementary interests and things that are compatible. And if you honestly look at that and go, you know what, I think this would be a source of contention in our relationship, so much so that I don't think I would be happy, then by all means, don't pursue that relationship. I do not think that you're the asshole in that. I think you're acting very responsibly and very truly. So no, not the asshole.
By the way, I saw some people in chat who were giving Salty Sail Cyclist crap for having a coworker / dating interest. I'm going to both sides this because it's rare that I both sides stuff. There are definitely issues and problems related to workspace and romantic relationships, and there might in fact be a problem with looking at someone as a potential dating interest. On the flip side, a lot of people meet their long-term significant others in the workplace. just be aware that it's a problem, and just be aware that even if you don't mean to be a creepy douche nozzle, you might be. I don't think that's necessarily the case and wouldn't go down that road, but yeah, I'll both sides that a little bit.
All right, this one's me. Okay.
I think so.
10 CFH? What's CFH? China, Hong Kong? No, I don't know. CFH. From Enjakuro, Matt and Jimmy, go fuck yourselves. Love you, Eric. Well,
Cool.
hey, thank you so much for leaving me out of that. Someone said they love how you call out people who you generally agree with, and I want to double down on that. Valid heuristics lead to valid opinions.
See, I don't. That's the thing. By the way, CHF is Swiss franc.
Swiss franc. Ooh,
you
fancy.
would, or franc. I don't know which pronunciation is correct there. Yeah. Thanks, Enja. I've never. That's not true. I was getting ready to say something that wasn't true. I was going to say I've never had a problem calling out people that I agree with on most things. On the one thing I don't call them out on, but there's going to be somebody that I don't do that. Generally, if I call somebody out for something and I make my case, it's because they're wrong in my view, and I respect them and care enough about them to try to compel them to do better and be better. And if in fact that I'm wrong in what I'm calling out, I can give what criteria it would be. Like, for example, earlier in chat, I pointed out that if in fact it's not hyperbolic to say all cops are bastards, all you got to do is call in and make that case. I think it's hyperbolic, and I think what a lot of people are doing is exactly what I was making the video about. They know it's hyperbolic. They don't care that it's hyperbolic. And so if they're being hyperbolic and I call them out for being hyperbolic, and their only defense is, okay, cool. You're allowed to be hyperbolic. But I think it's strategically unwise to frame things that way. But we'll see.
I kind of look at it.
Not like my way worked
as,
either.
yeah. I mean, hyperbole has its places, but in a lot of cases, going too far with that is counterproductive. It's kind of like anybody who has ever eaten with chopsticks knows if you hold the food too tight, you're going to slip and drop it. Or think of a surgeon with a light touch on the incision versus one that's like just gouging. Going too far in something, going too into the hyperbole and all that can be bad, or it can be counterproductive, but also bad because, as you mentioned earlier, it gives your opponent, your interlocutor, license to just dismiss what any valid points, any good points you have, because they're finding some technicality in the way they're presenting it. And while it might be good to say, like, all cops are bastards, or it might feel good to say that kind of stuff, just it's counterproductive. It goes against your goals. So going there doesn't really give us any value, but it does give your interlocutor something to use back against you. And it's better to just avoid that. My 2 cents on that. Is this you or me?
This one is me. $10 to Salty Seattle Cyclist. Regarding my previous super chat, is there anyone better than Josie Caballero to talk to on the show about American Hispanics that are pro-Trump? That's what I'm dealing with this person. So since I both sided your last one, I'm going to one side this one. You're not dealing with anything with this person. You no longer have any sort of, they're a coworker that has political differences. Unless they've expressed an interest in having the conversations, it would be a mistake, especially since in my view, especially since you viewed them as a dating interest, to try to engage with them on this, because it sounds to me like that goal would be to change their mind, not because they're wrong, but because you would like them to stop being wrong so that you can continue pursue them outside the office. But sure, I like Josie a lot. And that's why I'm like, do I recommend that Salty Seattle Cyclist actually call Josie and talk about this? Is that me call Josie? why not? I don't know anybody better for that particular thing.
$10 from Lucifer, the one and only. Matt, I love you, bro. You need a John Hammond hat.
I don't know who that is.
John Hammond. He's from, that's the Jurassic Park guy, right?
What? There's a lot of John Hammonds.
John Hammond is from Jurassic Park. He's the old guy. There's also a few other people.
Yeah. If you go to johnhammond.com, you find something, and then there's a YouTube channel that's John Hammond, and then there's John Hammond, the singer and musician, and then there's John Hammond, the fictional character.
If you type in John Hammond hat, most of the results are the Jurassic Park character.
That's
so yeah. And you could pull that off. That could be a good Halloween costume, I think. Yeah. Just don't go open up any poorly managed dinosaur parks. That'd be bad.
I get Johnny on here one more time. We can do dueling hats again like we've done in the past. 10 euros from Johnny Luca Rogers. Matt and Eric, such a good combo. I want to thank you and the whole Line family for providing me, personally, a much-needed peace of mind. Many hugs from Belgium. Ooh, I love getting hugs from Belgium. My grandmother, my great-grandmother was from Belgium. What's that?
No, just Belgium hugs. I wasn't expecting that tonight, and my night is that much brighter. So thank you so much.
I would rather have Belgian hugs than Belgian waffles. But yeah, my great-grandmother was from Belgium. But she taught us a nursery rhyme. I've mentioned this every time Belgium comes up. She taught everybody in the family nursery rhyme. We all learned it as little kids. And then when I met people from Belgium, I was like, hey, what's this mean? And they're like, that doesn't mean anything. And then, so it turns out, some people did some research and found out, that it's Flemish. And I got part of it wrong, I think, or was taught wrong. But just in case anybody sees this, we've already been over it. I've been given links to it. But the nursery rhyme goes, my apologies for pronunciation, but my great-grandmother made us all say this over and over and over again. It was, and it was fun. And it was, Dermaluit, Lakerput, Longethrapa, Kortepnapa, Klenpeluchitolitefut. And I think it ends with something basically it's about, stinky feet, or it's a rough equivalent of, this little piggy went to market type of thing. In, I think, Flemish. I probably got that wrong now too. But love back to Belgium. Thanks, Johnny.
If there's anyone who understands Flemish in the audience, super chat in your response to what Matt just said.
I just cussed everybody out in Belgium.
Yeah, you could have just... Man,
that's why my mom was like, I don't know if I want you saying that because I don't know what it means and it might be dirty. And I was like,
it's kind of like going in and getting some one of those kanji tattoos and you don't read Japanese. You don't know what it says walking out of that tattoo parlor. $9.99 from Kayla Martin, and there's no message. So thank you so much, Kayla. Is this
awesome, Kayla?
Yeah, we had a Kayla last Sunday on the show. I wonder if perhaps the same person, perhaps not. I don't know.
Maybe. 10 euros from God's an Atheist. If God was not created, if he appeared into existence, shouldn't we see more gods like him, or an infinite number of gods left from Portugal? This one I can actually hear. Let me put on my Jesus hat. God never began to exist. God always existed. So God didn't appear into existence. And that's why you won't see any other gods appearing into existence. God is and always was the essential foundation from which the universe springs and from which morality and logic springs, but God didn't begin to exist. And now, that's a bunch of nonsense, but Black Lives Matter. I don't know why those hats are together.
They don't ignite and like self-annihilate like matter and antimatter when you put them together. Like they're nothing.
I'd love to be able. I'd love to wear this red hat out, and the whole point is because for those who can't,
it catches the eye. Then people go like, oh, yeah,
it said made you look. Black Lives Matter. Except that most people don't look, and I'm afraid that if I was walking around with this thing on my head, anybody looking from the side or whatever, it'd be like they just think it's a MAGA hat. Plus, it's got a terribly long tail, and I got a big head, so they made this I can look. Oh, I'm ready now. Let me tell you what's going on. It's your turn to read the super chat there, Eric. Give it up for Storm Chaser Noah.
All right, Storm Chaser Noah. $10 from Storm Chaser Noah. Good to see you're feeling all right. Matt, be careful not to use straws or anything that requires you to increase air pressure in your mouth. Dry sockets are some of the worst pain. And hi, Eric. And that's all true. I mean, I had my wisdom teeth out. My wife had her wisdom teeth out. They tell you don't use straws because them bad on those sockets. You look like you don't want unsolicited medical advice.
I'm not going to comment on that because I'm going to cut John some slack because he contributed financially. But I didn't have the surgery, and I never, ever, 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 ever want unsolicited medical advice. But since it comes with money, I'll nod and smile. $10 to Jeff Cochran. Read any good books recently? I'll read whatever, but I always need more book recommendations. I finished Dan Barker's books, probably the most recent book relevant to this. It's called Contradiction. And it's a cool idea. It's
cool.
It's worth reading.
Yeah, I finished reading recently, that's right here on my desk, Atheist Mind, Humanist Heart. I did a thing with Paulogia on his channel on the topic of this book and how it was misrepresented by Sean McDowell. And I just got this in the mail. I think, Matt, I think you recommended this book like years ago on the show, and I remember picking it up.
Yeah.
And Informal Logic, Pragmatic Approach. So I'm just trying to crack this one open, and this is, it's dense. Like, the text is really tiny, and the book is really thick. So it's going to take a while to get through, but
yeah. My copy is normally right here where I can just reach up and grab it, but we moved stuff around and I moved it into the other room because I'm trying to make some space here. But yeah, that is a good one to kind of run through informal logic and reasoning. It's a good start.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right. We have $9.99 from Nuzzy D. At the end of Matt's anti-sermon, I almost said, praise Jesus. As an XJW, that's saying something. Do we still say go fuck yourself? Yes, we do still say that.
Also,
and
they're not XJW, they're X2.
Yeah, I too am an XJW, and I literally said hallelujah at the end of your anti-sermon.
They're not an XJW. They're not an XJW.
As an XJW, that's saying something.
No, that's not what it says.
Did I read it wrong? At the end of Matt's anti-sermon, I almost said praise Jesus. As an XJW, that's saying something. Do we still say go fuck yourself? So they're referring to me saying hallelujah?
It doesn't say XJW. It says ex-Jew.
Oh, ex-Jew. Oh my God. My brain. My brain. Oh my God.
That's so, I mean, we've been doing the show for hours. Of course you're going to miss stuff. It's awesome.
My brain is fried.
How many times did you read that wrong? One letter.
I read that wrong literally 4 times. That's how bad gone I am right now.
I think it's brilliant.
Good catch.
Because how many times have people done that with the Bible or their religious text?
Yeah.
The nice thing is it's still there, so we can point to it.
It is amazing how you can look at something and your brain can miss a crucial detail over and over and over again until somebody else comes along and says, no, dummy, look, in the coding world, there's multiple ways of debugging code, but there's a debugging method called the rubber duck debugging method. And it's literally, you grab something like a rubber duck. I don't have one here, so I'll use my AC remote control. When you're analyzing code and you're trying to identify a bug and you're having a hard time figuring out what the heck is wrong with your code, and you've gone over and over and over in your head and you're looking at it, if you don't have anybody else around you, what you can do is you can pick up an inanimate object, treat that object like it's alive, and explain the code to the object. You can say, well, line 1, you do this, this, and this, and that's going to do this. Line 2, you're going to do this, this, and this. And with this, analyzing your code with that method of presenting it to somebody else will help you identify what might be wrong. It's happened quite a lot. It's called rubber duck debugging, and it's usually done with rubber ducks. But it shows that I read that sentence, that statement, that comment 3, 4, 5 times, and I did not catch that detail. And it took some other perspective to help me with that. And 5 hours into or 4 hours into streaming, it's probably to be expected at this point. But it just really shows how we can overlook those types of details and overlook little details that are critical to a correct analysis of what we're looking at. Anyway, I'm rambling. We should probably get moving forward. But thank you so much. Sorry for misrepresenting your ex-religion. I'm sure you probably were confused when I responded. So very sorry.
I have a picture, which I'm trying to load. There we go. Let's see if I can get this positioned there. Well, let me stretch it out, and then maybe people will be able to read it right there. So that's one of those things. It's, what if I told you read the first line wrong? Same with the second and also the third. And it's because of how we process stuff, how the letters can be in a complete different order. As long as the beginning letter and the ending letter are in the right spot, your brain will just fill in the missing bits. Mm-hmm. Because the reality is your brain invents a reality. Your brain alters reality to fit your expectations on a regular basis.
Have you noticed it gets worse as you get older too? Because my brain tends to be more and more impatient when I'm reading things or when I'm like trying to process new information. So I tend to speed through things because I'm like, okay, my brain's going to just kind of work it out. But yeah, you can start inserting your own little things in there because you're going too fast. Yeah.
Yep.
Notice that it gets worse as I get
words
older.
while I'm reading them. Yep. $20 from Perch Dragon. What secular communities do is not like church. It's what humans do. Correct. Churches stole from us what humans do. Saying that we can't do these things seeds our humanity. Take it back, join create a local group. Yes. And I'll add, if that's what you want to do, because not everybody wants to join or create a local group, because despite the fact that we're generally social creatures, not everybody is similarly social.
$9.99 from Jason. Blood-fueled atheism. Cry, cry, heart, heart. Blood-fueled atheism. Do you know what that's referring to?
I'm not completely sure that I understand that, but I'm still thankful.
Yep.
Thanks, Jason. $10 JP. I dislike Trump, but Dems just made history in subverting the democratic process, even if just open convention, in selecting their POTUS nominee. Seems hypocritical. I disagree.
Yeah, I just want to say, fuck you, JP, and your condescending bullshit in chat. I called you out in chat, and you were being fucking condescending, so fuck you. Eat shit. And you're wrong.
I don't think I have to add anything to the producer. But this doesn't subvert the democratic process. She's already been elected, both as Attorney General and as Vice President. And now she's the Democratic Party's nominee and will be voted on. You do realize that the parties aren't part of the government, and the primaries are not part of the government. You could create your own party, run your own little election off to the side, or not, just appoint whoever you want as your thing. And you're not subverting democracy. You're submitting the candidate to run. But since Arden said, fuck you, I'll just go with that.
Okay, $10 from Kai Cook Daniels. I thought it was generally far left, but I think this comment section really threw me.
It's easy to do. Knowing how far left or right you may be, it could be relative to who you're hanging out with and what you're seeing. $10 from Ellie Farfield. Dating a non-practicing Muslim who wants to attend Christian church. I'll take him, but I'm concerned about being responsible for him adapting other flawed ideas. I wonder if there's a Sunday assembly, a Unitarian Universalist church, or an Oasis or something like that in your area that you could also take him to. Let him, this is somebody you're dating, so we're going to assume that you're, dating a grown adult that gets to make their own decisions. If not, what the hell's wrong with you? But if he wants to explore other religions, that's fine. See if he's also willing to explore the absence of a religion. I would share your concerns, but also I would be encouraged that somebody is at least searching and open to the idea that what they already believe may be wrong. I could be wrong about the all cops are bastards context thing. And just as soon as somebody shows me it's not hyperbole, they will demonstrate that I'm not, or that I am wrong, because I'm saying it's hyperbole.
And Ellie, that's if you're going to take him, that's your opportunity to ask questions. If he's presented with something and you smell a fish, ask him questions. Get him to think about, well, does this really jive with the reality? Is this really something moral? Is this really something that is explains the evidence the best, or is there other explanations? It's a good opportunity for you to open up dialogue with this individual with questions.
I got ahead of you and I read Kai's next one. So,
oh, no worries, go for it.
Oh no, it's yours to read. I read it.
Oh, this one's mine. Okay. I gotcha. Okay, $10 from Kai Cook Daniels. I try to correct the narrative by replacing people's all X are Y with any X could be Y.
I think that's a good idea for things that I think that avoids hyperbole in situations like this. So instead of all cops are bastard, any cop could be bastard. Because all you're doing is giving credence to the hashtag not all cops, and hashtag not all whatever never ever plays well or helps anything, which means the things that prompt it also aren't helping. But yeah, I like that Kai. $20 from El Hison or Gison. Previous show chat was unclear. A good friend asserted that Harris supporting an organization that bailed out protesters and looters was equivalent to the insurrection. Too many false equivalencies to count from Maggins. A good friend asserted that Harris supporting an organization that bailed out protesters and looters was equivalent to the insurrection. Okay, I don't know the details, but that's absolutely not equivalent to the insurrection. Bailing someone out is not in any way dismissing their crime, not suggesting that what they did was right, not suggesting it was the best way, and no way an endorsement of what they've done. Bailing someone out is about endorsing the person, not the action. If you're arrested and somebody comes to bail you out, they're not saying, well, I don't believe you did it, so I'm going to let you out. They may believe you did it. They may believe you didn't do it, but they may believe there's value in bailing you out. So yeah, I don't see how that's equivalent. Now, telling someone, go do this and I'll bail you out, that's a different scenario. Standing up on stage as Trump's done and suggesting that people take an action because you've got their back, that's a little different. But yeah, bailing someone out isn't that.
All right, we got $10 from One-Eyed Heathen. As a disabled person, I empathize with the frustration at getting unsolicited medical advice. Enjoy some money. Here's some money, enjoy it. Keep that in mind, Heathen.
Now I'm curious. As a disabled person, and your name's One-Eyed Heathen, is that the disability you're talking about? Or is there something else other than having... Because when I had my eye issues and I had to wear an eye patch, like I'm a really good driver. I haven't had a ticket or an accident in 25 years or more. And I got my problems on the road. Arden will attest to the fact that I am constantly irritated by everybody else in the road who's an inconsiderate idiot, because I'm not an inconsiderate idiot. I use my turn signals. I understand they're not permission slips. They are requests and signals of my intent. I will also use them even when I'm in a parking lot to say I'm pulling into this spot, etc. But man, when I had my eye patch, I didn't even want to drive. I probably could have made do, but I already knew I was so hindered from what I would normally be able to do. Yeah, it was really frustrating. So I certainly empathize and will not give you medical advice. $10 from Kirk 2011. Vote VP Harris. There is no other option. So far. And I can't imagine another option. She'd have to drop out for there to be one. How wild would it be if Biden drops out and endorses Kamala, and then something happens and Kamala has endorsed? I actually joked with Arden last night. Oh my God, I can't believe. Okay, let me do this real quick. So Biden drops out, nominates Kamala. This causes Trump to panic because JD Vance is fucking awful and not doing anything to benefit his ticket. So Trump goes, hey, it's not too late. Let's drop JD Vance and let's bring in somebody else. And that causes the Democrats to panic a little bit. So they drop Kamala and put in somebody else. And that causes Trump to drop out. And then we end up with 4 completely new people, two president, 2 vice president that nobody had even thought of, with like 2 months left before the race.
To make it even more absurd, after all that happens, the Democratic Party says, hey, you know what? Considering the new landscape here, we're going to bring Kamala back. Full circle, let's bring her right back into the nominee. That would be terrible and hilarious, and we should probably write like a comedy around that. Can you do that? Can you drop and then get back in?
Yes.
Yeah. Nothing stops you.
Well, it depends on when you do it, because there's if you haven't done it by this date, you can't get on the ballot, and
There you go. All right, 1999 from Nuzzy D. I didn't mean to cause an issue. I too got Atheist Mind, Humanist Heart. Do y'all more book recommends on morality, secular parenting, or just for fun? In the name of the Metza and Dreidel and Chicken Soup, I forgive you, Eric. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to sleep so much better tonight. Other book recommendations? Yeah. More book recommendations.
The books I recommend most of the time, Innumeracy by John Allen Paulos is my #1 recommended book. If you don't have it, get it. It's a quick read. It's about how bad we are at math and estimations, and how we are being manipulated by the fact that we're bad at math. But it's not a math book, and it's genuine. I don't do well with favorites. People come in my Twitch channel all the time. They'll be like, hey, do you have a favorite this, a favorite that? And mostly I don't have a favorite. My brother is my favorite person, and Arden is also my favorite person. So see, I can't even pick a favorite because I got 2. And so it's difficult going through that stuff and saying, what's your favorite this? What's your favorite that? But if somebody says, if you could only recommend one book, what would it be? That book is Innumeracy by John Allen Paulos. And then after that, there's about 50 that are tied for second. Read more books.
Yeah.
This is $10 from Ellie Fairfield. Sorry, Ellie. 100% encouraged. He only came here this year, and we talk about what I think is wrong with Christianity as an ex-Christian. I wonder if he isn't closer to atheism than I know, if I'm honest. Yeah, Ellie, Ellie's got a follow-up to the follow-up. So another $10 from Ellie Fairfield, and some more dollars for the channel that has kept me sane since it was created. I've always been a quiet spectator, but today I can share some dollars. Well, we're hugely grateful. I personally am encouraged that you are encouraged. I share your concerns. Everybody can be fooled. Anybody can become convinced of things for bad reasons, and not just religion. I mean, I come from a fountain of bad ideas in the Southern Baptist traditions that I was raised in, and the broader Christian traditions that I explored. If my path out of Christianity hadn't been a path steered by skepticism and wanting to believe only things that could be demonstrably understood and reasonably accepted as true. If I'd given up on Christianity because some church or somebody in a church hurt me, or I didn't get the pony I prayed for, or my life wasn't going very well, and somebody a Muslim comes over and tells me that they've got a better way. I could have floundered around and tried all kinds of things. And so if the reason that they're non-practicing Muslim is good, like they evaluated and found problems in the religion, and that's why they're wanting to explore Christianity, then that sort of critical thinking should be encouraged, because they're likely, I would think, to find similar problems within Christianity or anything else. If they're a non-practicing Muslim for reasons that aren't necessarily strong critical thinking, then you could be witnessing someone who's floundering, going from one thing to another thing to another thing to another thing, just being blown by the wind. And so I think having you there to be both encouraged and supportive, and to be a sounding board to bounce ideas off of, and potential resource to direct to additional, hey, let's go hang out with the atheists for a week and see what you think about that. Although I will say, having hung out with atheists for a couple of decades now, that is not my first recommendation. And I'm not saying that we're bad at it, although we are a bit bad at it, at building community. It can be too much for some people, because people go through different stages after they find their way out of religion. And if you show up and you're in this I'm doubting, I'm questioning phase, and you go to like the skeptics in the pub, and everybody's like, man, can you believe what these fucking religious fascists want to do? They're trying to do this, and they're trying. Everything about that could be true and accurate, and it might open some minds, but it might also not be somebody's first best introduction. But thanks so much, Ellie. And the final super chat for today, Eric's going to read now.
I got $10 from LG Son. Possible t-shirt. I come from a fountain of bad ideas. I'd wear that.
I come from a fountain of bad ideas.
Or I am a fountain of bad ideas.
I've managed to escape some of those bad ideas, but I definitely had my time going through and dealing with that. Any last minute things to add real quick, Eric, before we put a bow on this?
No, I too, when I deconverted and I was kind of reanalyzing everything, I went down some, I won't call them false paths, but paths ended up stopping and you turning on and coming back and trying again. So yeah, nothing wrong with that when you get out. Just some of us aren't equipped to handle things like we would have normally been equipped with had we had a more, secular or more educated upbringing. So it's okay to make mistakes when you get out. But yes, I also am a fountain of bad ideas. But no, that's all I got for the night. I think some people are trying to sweet talk me having an after show. I'm debating it. If I do have one, it'll be at about 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. So, or whatever.
You should absolutely have an after show.
I should. All right, fine, I will. So 8:30, go check out my channel. Yeah, that's in about 50 minutes. Let me refresh my beverages and go make sure my house is not on fire. And then, I'll be back here on my channel and come hang out. Maybe I'll take a call or two. I got nothing prepared. We'll probably do something like look at memes or something. But yeah, come and hang out.
No, you can't do that. I'm doing that.
You're doing that.
Actually,
oh no.
And a different thing. Eric and I just realized we have almost identical colored shirts on, and so where they come together at the line, there with the right lighting, we could almost be a two-headed monster with different backgrounds. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. As always, you guys make my Wednesday worth doing, and not just because it's financial contributions, but because there's interaction. I don't go out and socialize a lot. I don't like going to church and Oasis and Sunday Assembly things unless I'm actually speaking, because then I feel like I'm doing something to contribute. Whereas if I'm just sitting in the audience, that's not me. I'd rather be, granted, if there's a speaker that's teaching something, I'm happy to go. If you want me to come and listen to somebody perform music, I'm happy to go. That's not it. I'm saying my regular daily or weekend thing, I'd much rather be at a reptile expo. I'd much rather be hanging out with Arden. I'd much rather be exploring the world and learning something when I'm out doing this. But when I'm doing this, you guys make it awesome. I'm so glad. I am glad, not that the airlines fucked everything up and delayed my surgery for a month, but I'm glad that it worked out in a way where Eric and I were able to do this, that we were able to get the Biden announcement live streamed and addressed really quickly, that we were able to have contentious conversations with people who are our friends here, who we disagree with. And what were we really disagreeing about? Strategy. I'm so glad when people are actually willing to talk strategy, because quite frankly, I've been disappointed in the Democrats' strategic thinking, the left's strategic thinking, the secular strategic thinking, the atheist strategic thinking, the skeptic and humanist strategic thinking. I think that we, as the community grows, we're going to go through struggles. We know that. We're going to go through growing pains. We know that. What we need to remember is that that's where we all are. And if somebody says that's a bad idea, that's stupid, that's bad strategy, they're not saying you're a stupid fucking idiot who needs to be scrubbed and expunged from this. So just because you might engage in some hyperbole, don't take the reaction to that hyperbole and exaggerate that as well, because it doesn't serve anybody. We have a bunch of shows coming up here on the line, and I will go through and let you guys know what they are. And that is tomorrow, the Transatlantic Call-In Show starts at 2 p.m. Central with Arden Hart and Luxander. Sunday's Sunday show, it starts at 2 p.m. Central with myself and Seth Andrews. Oh my goodness. The Sunday show after dark is going to start at 7 p.m. Central with Jimmy Snow and Eric, who's right there. That guy. He's going to come back. He's doing like 93 shows in this month. Skeptalk on Monday at 6 p.m. with Erika Gibbon. And Tuesday, Chewed Gum. That also says Erika Gibbon, but it doesn't list anybody else. So I'm already excited for what the heck's going to happen next week. I think I'm going to have to spend my Monday and Tuesday here, and I'll be back next week on the Hang Up with J Mike. Maybe my hang up will be pinball, because J Mike and I have never actually talked pinball, and we need to. In the meantime, vote. Encourage other people to vote. Register to vote. Encourage other people to register to vote. Get out there and make sure that instead of buying into or spreading conspiracy theories or garbage memes that exaggerate, that you are sitting here reminding people that in the United States, we have got an election coming up. Democracy is at stake, and the future of democracy is at stake for sure, because we've already have a corrupt Supreme Court. We have somebody running who says they want to be a dictator for a day. And we can't allow that for one day, not one day ever. And when the Heritage Foundation, running Project 2025, says that that's going to be the next American Revolution and it will be bloodless as long as the left allows it, I'm not going to allow it. I have no interest in violence. All I have an interest in is making the world a better place. But how dare you look at everybody else and say, we're coming to take the country away from you. Don't resist. I'll resist. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to our call screener. Thanks to all of our moderators there, including the ones that are monumentally wrong about all kinds of things. And to Arden Hart, who's down the hall going, God, why do you have to say that over and over and over again? There's a list of patrons who are making this good. Tune in for the other shows and go to patreon.com/calltheline or linemerch.com for more good stuff here.